Okay, so for any of y'all new to the case, or maybe you just have forgotten about this, I forgot how much information was in all these like motions hearings during all the delays and everything with Donna. And there's just some things that kind of kept me wondering. But, you know, for all the people that are like, oh, Wendy's not going to be arrested. Did you just hear Georgia? Wendy, Wendy, Wendy. Y'all, she's licking her lips. And I know somebody commented when I posted this week and they were like, I can't hear it. Yeah, I know. It was a hot mic moment. And I've done the best I can with the audio. You know, I don't have a whole studio, but there's a lot of little talking. So just keep in mind, Georgia's got her eyes set on Wendy.
Of course she did. I already did.
But like a baby. Let's start with the notice of invoking rights and non-waiver of conflict of interest by Mr. Adelson. Do you have anything?
Are y'all saying none of y'all can hear any of this? So I guess when I muted my mic, it muted it. Okay, well, okay. I won't mute my mic again. It's because I'm playing it through CapCut, but all right. Got it. I'm like 20 seconds ahead. YouTube there's a little bit of a delay, but now I see y'all.
Morning, everyone. You receive it.
So real quick, this is when we thought we were going to have Donna's trial, and I had my bags packed and I was leaving to go to Tallahassee. I had bought all these new sweaters. I was set for the cold courtroom, and all the devastation happened. But I wanted us to remember when the appellate attorney came in from Charlie. Just think about all this as we're going into the appeals. Now, they're not doing ineffective counsel this round. This round is more about, I think, the jury and the location of the trial. I don't know how it all works if you can only appeal based on so many things. But then if this one gets denied, then they're going to do the ineffective counsel, is what I'm understanding. Any attorneys, feel free to comment.
You can stand at the lectern if you wish.
Laurel Niles, on behalf of state witness Harvey Adelson.
All other counsel of record to make their appearances at this point.
Georgia Kappelman for the state.
Alex Morris on behalf of Mrs. Adelson.
Dan Markel on behalf of Adelson.
So, how was everyone's evening last night?
Got a lot of weight here on me. How about you?
But like a baby. Let's start with the notice of invoking rights and non-waiver of conflict of interest by Mr. Adelson. Do you have anything to argue beyond what's in the pleading?
Your Honor, I'm not here to advocate for a position for the court to do something in this case. The only thing I intend to do with my filing is to invoke Mr. Adelson's rights to put the parties in the court on notice that he does intend to invoke his rights.
Right. Ms. Kappelman, does the state have a position that it wishes to raise concerning the notice for the filing?
My only position, Judge, is that this issue has been waived. Your Honor did an inquiry which was thorough, covered the issue, and
As to Mrs. Adelson,
yes.
concerning Charlie Adelson, I believe, well, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but the only way Mr. Rauschbaum's representation could occur is if both ends of a conflict were waiving. I don't believe Mr. Adelson ever took an affirmative position one way or another.
My understanding was he did, but I guess that position is changing, so I don't know, I have to defer to Your Honor on that.
So I'm muting it for a second. I want everybody's opinion on this. Do y'all think there ever was like a verbal waiver? Maybe it was when, Donna and Charlie would talk and be like, oh yeah, Dan was great. Yeah, you should have him. But do you really think Dan ever had a waiver?
Does the state intend to call Charles Adelson as a part of its case in chief?
No, he would be a Republican at this point. Now, that could also change too, but as of this moment, he is a Republican.
Ms. Niles, is there a reason that your client waited until yesterday to assert his invocation of this right and non-waiver?
Your Honor, I think the critical question is when the conflict arose. So,
Oh, the conflict has been there. The conflict is clear on its face. It's as clear as my nose. Is there a reason your client did not assert this until yesterday?
Your Honor, my understanding is that my client has not waived at any point. And so asserting it yesterday was merely putting the parties on notice of that non-waiver. I mean, the fact that he's listed in discovery as a Category A witness does not mean that the state was going to call him as a witness at trial. I think the conflict arose when my office received a subpoena for his trial testimony, which was last week on September 11th, and then he was transported to the jail on September 13th. Mr. Ackerman was able to meet with him at 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday the 14th. And then at that point, without revealing any confidential communications with our client, we became aware that all the parties needed to be on notice that there was no waiver and that he does intend to invoke his rights. And so our notice was filed the next business day, Monday morning. It was later.
So whether there was a waiver or not, it really doesn't matter because Charlie could have changed his mind at any moment, even if it was 5 minutes before he was supposed to testify. So Jack in the Forest is asking, what's the waiver? So Daniel Rashbaum represented Charlie in his trial. And then when Donna gets arrested, she gets Dan Rashbaum. You can't have an attorney, the same attorney for the same case. So then Charlie really was you can say screwed. I mean, his whole defense should have been like, this was my mom. But instead they were trying to protect Donna and Wendy and all that. So now he's got this appellate attorney and they're saying, you're not going to go in and waive this. So it opened up a whole mess.
In the morning, but we were trying to get it done. We were non-party, so we were having some trouble figuring out how to get it filed, but we drafted it and alerted the parties and the court as soon as we knew that this was an imminent issue, that his rights were imminently potentially going to be violated. Now, I don't think, I don't believe that they would be violated until he takes the witness stand. And at that point, either his former counsel attempts to cross-examine him or another member of the defense team attempts to cross-examine him, or they advance an interest that is materially adverse to his interest. So I think the potential for conflict was always there, but the conflict arose. It's going to arise on the witness stand. It has not quite yet arisen. But the potential for conflict.
It's simmering, not boiling.
Yes, Your Honor, it's burgeoning.
Mr. Morris.
Yes, sir.
We-
Judge, Came into the case.
So then this guy, Morris, was brought in to be an extra helper or whatever. And so the plan was that he would cross examine Charlie. But what I want you to notice is what he's going to ask here in a second, or what he says. And then you'll just see more of my video.
Case at the inception of the case, obviously I was aware of the fact that Mr. Ashbaum was representing Mr. Adelson. I was aware of the conflict, whether it's arisen or not. My view of it is that it's always been there and been present. As a result of that, I have been walled off from everything as it relates to any discovery from that prior case, any notes. I've not had any conversations with Mr. Ashbaum about Mr. Adelson's evidence or property. First instance that I met Mr. Adelson was this past weekend on Saturday with Mr. Offerman. In fact, Mr. Adelson queried whether or not I had seen his phone. I said, no.
So interesting. And I remember the first time watching this hearing, because I think it was early, because it's like I think it was an 8 a.m. or in Tallahassee, and I'm on Central Time. But I thought, that's interesting. The first thing Charlie says to Alex Morris, have you seen my phone? So then what did I do? I wrote a message to STS that night.
But we planned for this exact circumstance. And
From Leslie, is it odd Alex met with Charlie and Charlie asked him if he had seen his phone? Alex must go. What do you make of this, Tim?
It's odd that Alex met with Charlie,
I don't remember this. Do you?
and Charlie asked him if he had seen it.
See, it's the same day. And I mean, I'm telling y'all, I'm a little inquisitive kid, but I was like, oh, I'm going to ask Tim Jansen and Joel. And Joel's like, yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Seen his phone. You know, I remember that coming up, but I wasn't sure the context, and it kind of.
I can tell you the context.
How it was relevant, and I still don't.
Well, we'll have to figure that one out.
Members of the jury, they have Charlie's ID.
Okay, so remember, this is like a hodgepodge of stuff. But listen to what Tara Kawas says. This is the first trial.
They have all of his text messages. They have all of the information from his phone. Mind you, he's never been arrested, but they have an entire iCloud account. Let's see if the state attorney's office is going to show you all of the text messages between these supposed co-conspirators. Because I guarantee you, if there is something in there that is evidence of this homicide, they'll show it to you. But if they don't, ask yourself why.
And the idea was that I was going to conduct a cross-examination if Mr. Adelson were to testify. Mr. Offerman's motion argues to impute the conflict absent a showing of a good faith showing of an ethical law. I think that we've done that, but of course, as I mentioned in my response, we plan in the alternative if we're forced in that direction of securing alternate counsel.
When was the third party counsel retained?
Candidly, there's been no retention in terms of money from Mrs. Adelson to that lawyer, but it's prepared to happen. We wanted to see Your Honor's ruling. But the answer is I spoke with the attorney yesterday to confirm, just as I mentioned in the response.
Yeah, so Tara's dress that she wore in the first trial that we just saw a glimpse of, and I think there's another clip of it, and she's wearing a blazer. I think it's like one of those one strap dresses, you know, like one side, kind of like an evening cocktail dress. And she was like, oh hell, I'll just throw on a blazer.
Availability and absence of conflict for that lawyer.
All right. I've gone through, I believe, at least 2 laissez-faire inquiries with your client, specifically as to this conflict that exists between his former client, Mr. Adelson, and his current client, Mrs. Adelson. Is there a reason the defense did not bring before the court that you were pursuing third-party counsel, or there was, in fact, no waiver from Charles Adelson?
Well, let me back up and provide the court some information then. So there was, in fact, a waiver with Mr. Ashbaum. Mr. Ashbaum consulted.
Verbal or written?
Both. There was a third party lawyer, Mr. Moses, who was hired, as third party.
So does anybody know who this Mr. Moses is? This isn't the young kid that's going to come up in a minute. So there was a Mr. Moses that was hired to get the waiver signed. So they're all saying, oh yeah, he got it signed. But I know I never saw it in discovery. I don't think it ever happened.
Party counsel out of South Florida to consult with Mr. Adelson independently outside of Mr. Rashbaum's presence. And as it relates to the waiver, my understanding is that the waiver was agreed to. I believe it's going to be verbal, Judge, in the sense of not a writing. The written portion of it is the lawyer who consulted with Mr. Adelson. That was because of security issues. Is the way that was dealt with. It was post-conviction. The Department of Corrections housed Mr. Adelson closely managed, and as a result, there was an inability to get to him in a face-to-face conversation. So the waiver issue didn't occur. And then the retention of third-party counsel, we had never believed it to be an issue because of the game plan as it relates to me handling cross-examination and being walled off. And not until the issue that Mr. Ufferman raised did we make that move.
Let's assume for a moment that I find the walling off has been sufficient. Why should Mr. Rashbaum's representation not be terminated at this point?
The motion that Mr. Ufferman has filed is a conflict as it relates to cross-examination. Mr. Adelson, as I understand it, his objection is not to Mr. Rashbaum's continued representation of Mr. Adelson.
Well, your client has a right to effective representation at every single critical stage. I'm also not going to allow any issues basically to get backdoored should there need to be an appeal.
Never came to my mind.
Yeah.
Is there?
It never came to your mind, Alex? Great. Because it came to ours and we don't even have our bar card. How many messages did they say? I feel like, why am I thinking they said like 100,000 or 10,000 emails or something? That was in one of the hearings, but in Donna's trial, they mentioned some texts from WhatsApp when they got Donna's phone. And I've got some of that in here later.
A dispute that Mr. Rashbaum does not meet the elements of Colker. I don't believe so, Judge. A substantially related representation and a client that is now asserting a non-waiver of a conflict.
So Jack is asking, Charlie knew his text emails would probably convict him. And that's why he immediately asked Rash if he'd seen his cell. Is that what I meant? I mean, I don't really know, but I just thought it was obviously there's a lot of stuff on there. And I even remember, and I couldn't find it. In one of these hearings, they're talking about where is Charlie's cell phone? Because Dan Rashbaum had it. And I'm sure it was with Donna's planner that he turned over.
Well, also from a practical perspective, this is as important.
I mean, I'm being facetious about the planner and the phone together, but I do kind of wonder, like, where is it?
It's been a known circumstance from the inception. And
It has.
But I think that cuts both ways in the sense that, and I don't quarrel with the general concept that these circumstances ought to be avoided. And it doesn't create these circumstances. Beyond that, though, there's not been an assertion of this. And of course, Mr. Adelson's entitled to change his mind whenever he wants. Change his mind 3 hours from now, I suppose.
I will take Mrs. Niles' presence as proof he's changed his mind.
Yes, sir, I understand. But I don't think that my understanding from Mr. Ufferman in discussion was that the conflict was strictly limited to Mr. Adelson not wanting Mr. Rashbaum, or potentially by extension myself, to cross-examine. And that was the limit of the conflict, is my understanding.
Ms. Niles, do you need to clarify anything?
I do need to clarify that. Our first filing yesterday, the notice, did frame the issue in terms of concern about potential sharing of information on the defense team, right? Mr. Adelson was not waiving his privileged communications with Mr. Rashbaum. But after we read the response from counsel, I think it became clear, based on our reading of the rules regulating the Florida bar, that it would not be enough to bring in a third party, or it would not be enough to have a walled-off attorney conduct the cross-examination. And that's because I read Rule 1.9A to control on that issue. So Rule 1.9B says you can't use information gleaned from the representation to the disadvantage of a former client, but A says you cannot advance an interest that is materially adverse to a former client in the same or substantially related matter. So whether we have another...
I think being an appellate attorney would be absolute hell. Okay, so Evan Elizabeth Duke in Arizona, thanks. Andrew Moses is a criminal defense attorney and co-founder of Moses and Ruth Criminal Defense Lawyers in Orlando, specializing in DUI, drug, sex, and white-collar crimes. Right up Charlie's alley. And welcome, Jane.
Attorney come in and do that cross-examination, and I absolutely trust Mr. Morris, and I'm not challenging his veracity when he says he was walled off from this issue, but I don't think it solves the problem, because whether we have another lawyer actually conduct the cross-examination doesn't solve the issue of A under that rule. In a case cited in Mr. Adelson's notice called Colfer that Your Honor just referenced, also addresses this exact issue and says having a third party conduct the cross doesn't resolve the conflict, because it's the relationship that forms the basis of the conflict, not just the information. So it would be our position that Mr. Rashbaum cannot advance an interest against Mr. Adelson, because Mr. Adelson is now going to be a witness for the state of Florida. That is a problem under the rules regulating the Florida bar and Florida case law.
Well, does any party have anything further they wish to add to this matter?
Brief response, Judge. Of course, Ms. Adelson has the right to counsel of her choice. I recognize that
It is not absolute.
Understood. I recognize that there are restrictions, but in the circumstance that's before us, then Mr. Adelson may not testify in this case. And that's a little bit of the frustrating part, is that this can be utilized as a tactic in some respects.
It doesn't mean he still can't lob a hand grenade in the direction of the trial.
Sure, I understood. The frustrating part, I guess, is that the defense doesn't intend to call him. The state's acknowledged that it would be in rebuttal if they were to call him. And I can't fathom why there would be a lot of direct or cross-examination. But
if this witness cannot be properly cross-examined, your client has lost the right to effective representation, and therefore we have an issue relating to whether or not a new trial is merited. At the outset, it is foolish to charge forward under the circumstances. I can examine your client if she's willing to waive the issue of the conflict and also waive the issue on appeal. That still does not per se resolve the matter. Do you wish for me to examine your client?
may I just one Judge?
Go ahead.
I wanted to edit this and put in the Jeopardy music, like dun 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 dun, but I didn't have time. Do y'all remember this? This is probably the most upset I've ever seen Donna ever. Look at Dan. You know who called this from day one? Carl. Y'all, I cried for like a month. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes. Wishes to inquire.
Please raise your hand. Do you swear the testimony you will give today will be the truth? You can lower your hand. I believe we've done this twice before, but given the circumstance and what has now arisen, it is prudent to do it once again. Do you understand that you have the right to conflict-free counsel? Meaning specifically as it relates to Mr. Rauschbaum or any other conflict that may be imputed to Mr. Morris or any other third party. Do you understand that your attorney has to be able to properly cross-examine your son if he is called as a witness?
Donna didn't care. She just thought Dan hung the freaking moon. She didn't care. And just for everybody in the chat, so Rebecca is in here, and she was actually on the elevator with Dan Rashbaum on this day. And I believe Rebecca heard Dan was leaving the case before Donna did. You can correct me if I'm wrong. It was a big deal. And yeah, Carl was just saying from the get-go when she retained Rashbaum, like, this cannot happen. Like, they shouldn't even allow it. They should never have allowed it to go this far. He said, shame on everybody. Everybody should have known.
Do you understand how this conflict affects the cross-examination potentially or your overall defense strategy? Have you been able to speak with a conflict-free attorney in making the decision as to whether you wish to waive any conflict on this matter?
Judge, the short answer is going to be no, beyond having spoken with me at the inception of my representation.
I didn't realize I put so much of this in here. I know Alex is boring, but it gets a lot better. I wonder, do you think Donna and Harvey were pissed at Charlie for doing this? But I'm sure Charlie, would just be like, well, it was the attorney. That's what they said I had to do. That's what the Adelsons do, is blame everybody.
Would you like to speak with conflict-free counsel concerning this issue? Very well. Before we finish the colloquy on this matter, then, we will go into recess. The defendant will have an opportunity to consult with conflict-free counsel. We'll resume this afternoon. I will finish the colloquy this afternoon. Any juror that has been summoned this morning will be released for now. And if there is to be a selection, we will get started again at 1:15. Before we finish for this morning, Ms. Dugan, Ms. Keppelman, did you have anything else that you wish to raise or argue?
Nothing else, Your Honor.
Very well.
Your Honor, may I be excused for this afternoon, or would you like me to come back?
If there's anything else that you need to raise on behalf of your client,
No, Your Honor.
well, you are excused. Please report back at 1:15. Whoever the conflict-free counsel is that Ms. Adelson will consult with, if either she has someone in mind or the attorneys are going to assist her with this, please move quickly so she has an opportunity to speak with someone, and we'll move forward from there.
Judge, could Ms. Calhoun and I come side by side?
Please approach.
I was so excited on this day too, because Georgia had that boss suit on, that like creamy with the black check. But I noticed she brought it for Donna's trial. She saved it.
Let's pick back up where we were earlier. I believe Ms. Adelson was consulting with independent counsel on that matter. Has she had sufficient time to do so?
I think I'll let independent counsel, Mr. Commissar, speak to that.
Mr. Commissar?
Yes, Your Honor. May it please the court, just for your awareness, I've been involved in this since yesterday. She has had a chance. She has had a chance to speak with me. She's in a position where she would not like to lose Mr. Rashbaum.
I think this young attorney used to work for Tim Jansen. I think he said that on STS.
She's willing to make any waivers that are necessary. She's not seeking a continuance, and she's fine with currently unprepared counsel conducting the cross-examination of Mr. Adelson should he be called.
Well,
Well, of course, Donna would be ready for unprepared counsel to cross-examine Charlie.
let's go ahead and finish the colloquy that we started earlier concerning the waivers. Ms. Adelson, if you can stand once again, you have already been sworn. Now that you've had the opportunity to discuss with Mr. Commissar the issues that are related to the conflict of Mr. Rashbaum and also any issues as it would relate to proceeding forward under these circumstances, are you in fact waiving any conflicts regarding Mr. Rashbaum? Do you also waive any issue on a future appeal regarding the issue of your son's cross-examination?
For anybody that's just listening, Donna's nodding. So this was back in 2024 when her trial got derailed because Charlie wouldn't sign the waiver for Rashbaum.
As it pertains both to the preparation of any counsel who would perform that cross-examination or the fact that it may not be adequate representation. You may be seated. Does the state have anything to raise concerning this matter at this point?
Just that the state is in agreement with proceeding as outlined by defense counsel. In the limited research I was able to do on the issue, it seems like a lot of the times when it goes the other way and the court in its discretion decides to boot the counsel of record for conflict, the state is seeking that. So just want to put on the record.
Look at George's hair too, like awesome. Christina, that's hilarious. Back when Donna's ponytail was still blonde, and Kristen said, until Donna's trial, she thought Harvey was still at the airport. That's what we all thought. And then we all learned, no.
Seeking for your honor to do that in this situation.
To dismiss Mr. Rashbaum. Very well. I'm going to perform my additional research before we continue this afternoon concerning whether or not this waiver is sufficient. The defendant has made it. She has made it voluntarily. At the same time, whether it is sufficient to survive any review, that is really where my mindset is at this point. Unless any other party has something to raise, we'll be in recess and get started again at 1:30.
Judge, as Ms. Niles, in speaking with her during the break, is she and Mr. Upperman are meeting with Mr. Adelson, because the question has arisen as to whether or not there's a conflict as it relates to cross-examination, or if Mr. Adelson were to have a continued objection to his representation, continued representation of Ms. Adelson. I think that there's some thought that that needs to be confirmed from Mr. Adelson first, because if he takes a different position, it would seemingly disqualify Mr. Rashbaum altogether. That's going to be accomplished. I wanted to let the court know that that's in the works. But also, as it relates to the waiver, so the court was aware, and there's mention of it in the comments section of the rules regulating the profession, that an oral waiver is acceptable and appropriate with certain conditions that are set forth in the rule.
Is the attorney who obtained the waiver available to speak on this matter?
I don't know the answer off the top of my head, but I'm pretty certain, I say within 99% certainty.
Did you see that Dan Rashbaum sprouted up like the little Jack-in-the-Box toy we had when we were little, when he said, is that attorney available? Because Dan knows he is busted.
Facilitated.
Go ahead.
Does your honor need, that I'm mentioning this, should I, excuse me, Judge.
So Dan and Alex are conferring. That's terrible. Tennis just shared that Julie Frew, she was one of the mods on STS. She passed away. Do we know what happened?
Does your honor feel like you need to hear from?
So we have a fully developed record? Yes.
Okay, let me make arrangements during the break and all our chambers as to how quickly we can do that so we don't waste time this afternoon if possible.
Please do.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to have the afternoon jurors report at 2 o'clock, so that way no one's time is wasted while we're going through these matters. Mr. Commissar, you had something else to add?
Yes, Your Honor, just as we're talking about perfecting a record, I just wanted to note that as the independent counsel, I was given an opportunity by the court to meet with her independently. The bailiffs gave us some privacy here. I was able to meet with her for easily 30 minutes, and I'm not revealing any of our competences, but this was not a squishy situation.
Squishy.
Once I was able to articulate the options and how they can result in delay or the opportunity to prepare, this, I can say, was a strategy decision that is being made by a defendant who does not want to delay their case, but understands that the representation they're going to get from my cross-examination is not what they might get from another lawyer, or definitely not what they're going to get from me with a year of preparation. So it may look odd in a cold record having a lawyer come in this morning and advise somebody to waive such an important right. I was able to articulate the options, but I did not necessarily advise somebody to waive their rights.
Well, Mr. Morris, do you wish the court to engage in any further colloquy with Ms. Adelson concerning this matter?
Not at this point, Judge.
Very well.
Law enforcement meets with Markel's ex-wife, Wendy.
You know what else is fun is to watch how George's confidence grew over these trials. This is the opening. It's not the whole opening, but part of it in 2019.
Adelson, whereby they learned that she has been embroiled in a very contentious divorce and continued litigation with Mr. Markel regarding the enforcement of the divorce settlement agreement and specifically the custody of their 2 boys.
Thanks.
Pleadings from the divorce indicate that Wendy Adelson had made efforts to relocate to South Florida. She'd actually moved to South Florida with the kids, and a court ordered her on June 20th, 2013, that she had to come back to Tallahassee.
Okay, so my whole point in putting this in here is that Georgia talks about Wendy in the openings and the closings and all the time, and just listen to all the Wendy stuff. But remember, so what she just said was in June of 2013. So Wendy, they filed for divorce September. See, now I'm getting confused. But yeah, remember how in the trials they'll ask, did you leave with the boys and get threatened with federal kidnapping charges? And she's like, no. Well, she did. She did in June 2013. And Bob, why me? Are you the person that used to be Bob in accounting? I have to know because I just need to know.
See, she couldn't leave Mr. Markel's children. The name of Charlie Adelson. Charlie Adelson had a sister in Tallahassee, Wendy Adelson. And Wendy Adelson had a problem. And her problem was named Dan Markel. And the solution to that problem was Magbanua, Rivera, and Garcia. Garcia hopping back into the Prius, Rivera backs out of the driveway, and they head back to Miami. I mentioned earlier that both men had their phones off, and that once they turned their phones back on, the very first call that either of them make after the homicide is Mr. Garcia to Catherine Magbanua. And what does he say? He says, the job is done. And what does she reply? She says, I know. So almost 2 years after the murder, law enforcement conducts an undercover operation. They got court authorization to go up on a wire, called a wire, on Catherine Magbanua's phone and also Charlie Adelson's phone, which means they could listen in real time to what was being said on these phones. That's, despite some popular belief, not something the government normally can do without special authorization. In this case, that authorization was put in place, and law enforcement was prepared to listen to both Catherine Magbanua's calls and Charlie Adelson's calls.
And what's more important, members of the jury?
Okay, so thank you, Clarissa. That makes sense. Okay, they filed for divorce September 2012, and I guess Wendy was like, F it, and she took the kids to Miami in June didn't tell Dan where they were, and she had to come back. That was 2013.
One of the interesting things that Luis Rivera said, and it's going to be a very important and pivotal part.
Yes, she is.
In one of his statements, he mentions that Wendy Adelson is involved. He says that Sigfredo told him the lady wants her kids back. Wendy, he even mentions her name, Wendy, because Luis knows how badly they want the Adelsons. So he's thinking, let me throw out Wendy's name too, because maybe I can get 10 years instead of 19. But that's how bad they want the Adelsons. He knows.
Oh, this is terrible. I hate to make this all. I don't want to ignore this. So Evan said, almost $10,000 been raised in a GoFundMe for Julie Frew from STS Mod who took her own life. That is so sad. She was always very, very kind. Very sad.
And he proceeds to tell them, trying to give more details, add some credibility to the story, that he goes so far to say that the day before the homicide and they're casing his house, that they're driving down Trescott and a woman is walking down the street with her two boys. He knows this from the discovery. Walking down the street with her two boys, and Sigfredo looks at them and goes, hey, that's Wendy. That's Wendy, the girl that wants her kids. She's making sure that we are up here and doing the job. You would think that would be enough evidence, right? To put handcuffs on Wendy Adelson and bring her to this courtroom so she can answer questions. But no, they know that he's not telling the truth because they have records that show that both boys were at the daycare center the day before and that Wendy's house is 5 miles away from her.
So this is Tara saying there's no way Lewis could have seen Wendy on Trescott, and Georgia even says it too. But according to the records, it was 8:30 when Wendy dropped him off. So she could have been there earlier. We don't know.
They're gonna.
Oh, sorry, ain't no holla back.
Possible motive to prosecute an innocent person. In what universe would that assist me in getting the Adelsons? Someone requesting a trial does not mean they're innocent. Every criminal defendant has a right to a trial. She didn't flee the country, so she must be innocent. She would never risk not seeing her children. A mother wouldn't or couldn't be capable of doing something like this. Well, who would be capable of doing something like this? So heinous. Yet it happens. We all know it happens all the time. We talked about it in jury selection. What does a murderer look like? Are they a certain race? Are they a certain creed? Are they a certain sex? No, they come from all walks of life, in every shape and size. Don't excuse her conduct because of sympathy. It is unfortunate. It is sad. It's sad for everybody involved. But this is about those defendants' choices that are sitting across the room from you. Defense showed you a picture of the girls on the beach with a credit card in it. I can't see the name on that credit card. I don't understand how that means that she bought drinks that day. And I don't understand what in the heck that has to do with the murder.
This made me laugh because Georgia talking about the beach picture and the credit card and who bought drinks. And Georgia's like, I mean, who freaking cares? And that just made me laugh because me included as YouTubers, have all been like, no, it was Charlie there. And then other people are like, no, he wasn't. And Georgia's like, yeah, I don't really care who was there.
And it's so sad because in this case, what we have here is Charlie Adelson getting what he wanted, Sigfredo Garcia getting what he wanted, and more importantly, Wendy Adelson got what she wanted. And 4 days after he was murdered, she packed up her stuff and left. You're not going to hear any evidence that Charles Adelson made any attempt to go to the funeral of his former mother-in-law. He stayed in Miami and went to the gym. You are not gonna see any communications on his iCloud talking about how awful this is. None of that. That is going to scream to you the person who Charles Adelson is. Yeah, a lot. It's gonna be lots of phone records, lots of photographs, because this investigation spanned years before any arrests were made. Well, since 3 arrests were made. Because if you'll see, in 2016, Garcia and Rivera were arrested. In 2016, Miss McDaniel was arrested. Sure, you're all wondering what's going on with the Adelsons, right? Donna, she's probably at home watching TV, probably watching this trial. Charles Adelson, arrested a month ago. A month ago. His lawyer is in here right now, back there, watching, taking notes, preparing for whenever Charlie is going to go to trial. Wendy Adelson, the state is going to give her immunity to come and testify in this case for them. That's what's going on in this courtroom, members of the jury. Wendy Adelson is going to get immunity to testify against Catherine McDowell. You're going to see her for yourself. Watch her, members of the jury. Because she thinks she's going to be able to put on a fantastic, but that's all it's going to be. Because what you are going to see is not only does she have a motive to protect her family, including her brother, who is now arrested, she also has a motive.
Is Ms. Adelson. Your Honor, as you know, Ms. Adelson has been subpoenaed.
So I thought this was interesting. This was the second trial, and Wendy like stands there with Laura like right next to him as he's talking, and I hadn't seen that before. I don't know if anyone else had.
By the state as well as the defense. She, with that state subpoena, would unequivocally invoke her Fifth Amendment rights. We want to make that clear for the record. In light of Your Honor's prior rulings and direction, we wanted to put that on the record. However, with respect to the state subpoena, it automatically confers use and derivative use immunity on her pursuant to Florida Statute 914.04. That use and immunity, use and derivative use immunity would only apply to a state subpoena and not to a defense subpoena. So in light of that, we would ask respectfully that the court quash the defendant's subpoena, since there's no purpose and no appropriate purpose in calling a witness simply to invoke in front of the jury.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Laura, any questions that are given to Ms. Adelson during, if she was called with the defense case, is she going to assert her Fifth Amendment rights to any question that's asked at that time?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm assuming any question would have to be relevant and germane to the matters in this case, and as a result, she would invoke as to those questions.
All right. And so I'm just going to assert my previous ruling that I've made, and I did restate on the record yesterday, is that she'll be required to testify under the state subpoena. The cross-examination will be limited to whatever the state's brings forth on direct. So that's what the cross-examination scope will be limited to. There's no piggybacking or bringing in any other information just because she's under the state subpoena. That's not going to be permissible. And then she's not going to be permitted to be called as a witness. Now that we know that she's just going to assert her Fifth Amendment rights, she won't be called as a witness in the defense case at this time.
Yes, Your Honor. That's
Okay.
exactly our understanding of the law.
All right. Okay. Anything else for the court?
No, sir.
Okay. I'm going to ask that Ms. Adelson then.
I mean, Wendy just gave him like an up and down, like, look. I don't know if y'all saw it.
Please remain outside the courtroom because she's subject to the rule. All right. Thank you.
Excuse me, Miss Wendy Adelson Estrada, whatever your name is. You need to come on back on up, back up. We're not done with you, and you're not done with your legal fees. Thanks. Sorry, I just learned the reverse feature, and I wanted to try it out on this video.
Ms. Adelson, if you come to the witness stand, please. before you have a seat, we're going to swear you in. Please raise your right hand, respond to the clerk.
And the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
You have a seat. Ms. Cavalier?
Thank you, Your Honor. Please introduce yourself and spell your name.
My name is Wendy Adelson, W-E-N.
So I apologize. I know the audio is different levels. I did not have a chance to even export this video yet, and it takes like an hour. And then it, what's that word? It makes like all the volume a constant. So I'm sorry. I've got it as loud as I can on my computer. So it'll be up and down. But I put this in here just because Wendy was really stupid about immunity here.
B-I-A-D-E-L.
I know.
Sampson, where do you currently live? Here today pursuant to a state subpoena.
Yes, I am.
And do all state subpoenas confer immunity?
Don't know if all state subpoenas confer immunity, but this one does.
Okay, and do you believe that your subpoena is special or different from other state subpoenas?
I don't believe it's special or different, so I suppose they all carry immunity.
All right, and does the immunity conferred upon you by the subpoena mean that you can
Thank you, Evan. That's incredibly generous. Thank you.
never be prosecuted associated with this case?
That's right.
That's what you think it means?
That's what I think it means.
Okay. And do you think, isn't it true that it's use and derivative use immunity? Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, but not complete immunity from prosecution. Do you agree with that?
That's different than what you just asked before. So I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
All right, so what I'm trying to allow the jury to understand is what sort of immunity you have. What is your understanding of what it means for you to have immunity pursuant to the state subpoena?
So I have derivative and use immunity. And so in the future, a prosecutor couldn't use what I say here today against me.
Correct. But you could be.
I think Wendy's hair honestly looks better here from the front than it's ever looked. Sir Tedrick Walter, if Fibbers is innocent, why does she need a high dollar at every trial? Exactly. And my thing is, if you were so innocent, why wouldn't you make a statement or have even tried to find the person that did this? Actions.
Be prosecuted, just nothing you said here today could be used against you in that prosecution. Do you agree with that?
I suppose so.
Okay. How do you make sure that it goes down the line like that? You can't get from the engine to the caboose without going through the middle. And the middle is Catherine McBann.
Yes.
Why did she pay for Garcia's lawyer? Not because the lawyer did anything wrong. I'm not throwing shade at him. She paid.
Did y'all hear that? So I just learned this today. Katie paid for Sigfredo's attorney. Huh. Sam Zangana or whatever, Sam. Katie paid for that. Think about that. The F. Wendy fan club. That sounds amazing. I love it.
For another
I'm here.
conspirator's attorney. That's relevant for consideration to whether or not this is a conspiracy. They're probably paranoid. And they see a woman and a couple kids on the sidewalk. Garcia says to Rivera, "Oh, that's her. That's the lady." And what Rivera said is that when Katie called to tell them, y'all gonna get this done tomorrow, that they said, we saw Wendy, or we saw the lady with the kids. So that was my memory of the evidence. You guys would rely on your own. Well, I have no reason to doubt that they saw somebody on the sidewalk. I cannot tell you that it was Wendy Adelson.
See, Georgia, this is 2019. She's saying, I don't know that that was Wendy that they saw on Trescott, but I think we all believe, or a lot of us do, that she somehow was in communication with Sigfredo. And Pretty Brown, what I was saying was originally Wendy was like, yeah, no, I have freedom from prosecution with the immunity. And then Georgia seeks to clarify.
I do not have that.
We have a
Oh,
criminal defense attorney at the trial, Sam Zangladesh. I hope I got the name right.
Super close. How you doing?
Sorry about that, son.
No
This was the
worries.
last minute of me coming on and not Jesse, so.
So y'all will like this. This is the guy that represented Sigfredo, and he does an interview here. And listen to what he says. I would love to talk to him. Then that Jesse guy from Law and Crime comes on, and his audio is kind of bad. He's on like a Bluetooth headset. But I thought this was a cool find. This was from, I don't know, 2020, 2021, because it was all like COVID stuff.
I get it.
Okay, so what we know for the viewers is Sigfredo Garcia was convicted of first-degree murder of Dan Markel as being the shooter. The prosecution claims this was a murder for hire type situation, and he was facing the death penalty, but he received life in prison. And I'm very grateful that you are joining us here today so we can talk about this case. His co-defendant, and they were on trial at the same time. The trials were not separated. Catherine McDaniel, who is the mother of his children. The jury, I'm sorry, I've got other sounds in my ears. The jury was a hung jury on her. So we are waiting for a retrial on McDaniel's case. She was charged with the same charges and conspiracy to commit. People believe, the prosecution believes, I believe, that the Adelsons had something to do with it, brought McDaniel in, who brought Garcia in. Now, I understand you're his attorney, and so let's get your take on, give me just a general idea. Obviously, you were defending him, saying that he was not guilty of this, he was found guilty. So give me just a brief synopsis of how you feel all of that went.
Sure. So for those that watched the trial, you saw that our legal team, Sigfredo Garcia's legal team, we were sitting right next to Kathy McManua and her fantastic legal team. And throughout the course of the trial, from a defense standpoint, they did what was pragmatic and what was extremely effective argument is that they implicated my client to attempt to shield their client, but we didn't do the same thing. And we didn't do the same thing is because our client specifically instructed us not to. And if you think about that, you kind of understand the mindset of Mr. Garcia going into this case. Moments before the trial started, Ms. Kaplan, who was the prosecutor on the case, was extremely open to having Mr. Garcia cooperate, as they have been throughout the pendency of the case. They've been attempting to get him to cooperate. They've been attempting to get Ms. McManus to cooperate to get to the Adelsons, because they're the target at this point. I think they've been the target since the inception. Obviously, Ms. McManus, my client, Mr. Rivera, are part of the prosecutorial stream, but they are the top of it. Like they're the top of the pyramid. They're who they want to get.
Yes, and I think we have just
Thanks for jumping in. Tom, it's good to see you. Okay, so I just heard your answer. And this actually brings us to the next step. So we were supposed to be covering the retrial of Catherine McDaniel to start last week, obviously pushed off for COVID-19, and we're waiting for the retrial. I want to play our viewers something. This is from the last trial when Katie McManus took the stand, and she was asked about her role in this investigation and what she might have in order to help the government against Charlie Adelson. Take a look. We're going to talk about it on the other side.
There are televisions in jail, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were privy to several news reports on this case, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You were aware that the government's position was that you saw a news report where they said that you hold the key to your own freedom. Remember that? What did that mean to you?
That it's up to me to get out of jail.
Okay, and how would you do that?
If I gave up Charlie.
Do you have information that Charlie Adelson was involved in this?
Do I have information? I mean, based on everything that we've been seeing, but I don't have personal information.
Based on everything
you know, as much as Tara was like, Katie's innocent, I wonder what she's saying now that Katie's, confessed it all. And for those of you asking about the audio, it's as loud as it'll go on my laptop. Again, it is still in the editing software, and that's what I'm playing it from. And that's why the volume is up and down, because when you export it, it clears it all up. But I didn't have time. So I'm sorry, but just hang in there.
Scene. Do you think Charlie was involved in this?
Yes,
Do you think Charlie was lying to you?
yes.
All right, Tom, so you have to tell me, what can we expect now from the retrial? What role is Katie going to play in order for them to get the Adelsons? So if we all believe it, the idea is that the Adelsons were behind this, is she going to take a deal before this trial? If she's convicted, do they hope to make a deal with her before sentencing? How's this going to play out?
So they've been offering her a deal from the beginning. 3 years ago when they arrested her, they in essence offered to drop the case against her if she agreed to be a government witness. And she sat in jail for 3 years and, you know, turned down deal after deal after deal. And those were, I mean, they were just in essence, help us get to the Adelsons and you get out of jail. But you have to kind of admit your culpability. She rejected all those deals. And so we went to trial and she testified. And so now, the defense attorneys for the Adelsons have sworn testimony from Katie McManaman that said that she wasn't part of this conspiracy. So it discredits her if they want to use her. But I guarantee you this, I think the state attorney's office will absolutely use her, even if she takes the stand and gives the same recitation of the facts and denies having any kind of culpability. If she's found guilty and they offer her a deal after Hankinson gives her a life sentence, which he probably will, she's gonna want to help herself out.
That was wild. I mean, like total kind of foreshadowing, because she gets sentenced to life and then she starts going clean. This guy knows a lot. Can you imagine? He's seen all the discovery, or a good bit of it, I should say, up until they got Donna's.
Well, the Adelson's names were thrown around throughout the trial, but yet no one has been charged, no one has been arrested. Kathy, let's go to our viewers, and they have a bunch of questions for Sam right now about this case that after everything.
They do. And just a reminder, we are taking your questions live today during the show. Okay, question. Wendy perjured herself mercilessly on the stand about things both trivial, and this viewer puts in parentheses, so trivial, exclamation point, and big. Which of these lies do you think will end up being most consequential?
Bobby, you don't really give me a list of lies, but I will tell you this, Wendy Adelson came in and she played kind of the ditzy blonde to a T. Extremely, and let me tell you, as I sat there and I watched her play this I don't know role, it was in essence an Academy Award performance. She did an excellent job of deflecting the questions and not really kind of marrying herself to answers. But Ms. Kappelman, you know, didn't follow up. She asked the questions she wanted to ask and got the responses that she was expecting to get. I mean, what I think the biggest lie was that she wasn't involved.
I mean, right there, boom, Sam just said it. He said that Wendy played like an Academy Award-winning actress and she played the ditzy blonde in the trial. And he said, what do I think the biggest lie was? That she wasn't involved. God, I would love to talk to him. I know he can't tell us stuff, but I don't know, maybe he could.
Or that she didn't know.
Well, that's the thing, we're trying to figure out exactly who in the Adelson family might have known something clear that the conversation was a lot about. Charlie, talking about testimony, I want to go back to your client, Sam. Is there any idea, any preview you can give us of what his role, Garcia's role, going to be in the upcoming McDonald trial? Will he testify in any way?
At this point, Sigfredo's case is under appeal. I'm not an appellate lawyer, so he has new counsel for his appeal. I don't think the government's going to call him as a witness. They've offered him deal after deal after deal, and he rejected all these deals at the inception because it was going to hurt his wife.
Did y'all hear that? They offered Sigfredo deal after deal after deal, and he wouldn't do it because he didn't want to implicate Katie
McManaman. So the chances of him doing a complete 180, in essence, to help himself when he's kind of thrown himself on a grenade in this case for Ms. McManaman, I don't think that he's going to testify on behalf of the government. And I don't think he's a good witness for Ms. McManaman. So I don't see him having any kind of role other than the government presenting the evidence that they have from a prosecutorial standpoint.
And talking about appeal, and he said that he's gonna fight this to every threat. And he actually said that in a letter that he wrote to Katie McFadden for the sentence. I know we're running out of time on this subject, so let's see if we can get another question in.
Yeah, so Solomon, after the conviction, after Garcia's conviction, you held a press conference, and our viewer says, during that press conference, you said those three should be shaking in their boots now. Most people believe that you were speaking about Donna, Charlie, and Wendy. Is that who you had in mind?
Correct. I mean, listen, let me tell you, I think that
Sam is like my new favorite player in this whole case. He said that they should be shaking in their boots, Wendy, Charlie, and Donna. Well, guess what? Charlie and Donna are convicted. Telling y'all, you gotta like go back and watch all this stuff and listen to how it all changes. And this producer lady in the red interviewing Law and Crime, I don't think she works there still, but not very good.
I think that there was a good possibility that there was a group of detectives outside all of their homes waiting for the verdict to come in. And if it would have been two guilties, they would have made the arrests. That's what I think. So and let's say a little birdie told me something to that effect. So I think that there's
a little birdie told him something to that effect. What we have to remember is, I had to remind myself of this. And I first want to go back to Julie Frew. It's horrible. And somebody wrote in the comments, check on your strong friends. And that is so true, because it always seems to be the people that you would never think would do that. I just lost my train of thought. Oh, okay. So Dan was murdered in 2014. They made arrests in 2016. So they got 2 arrests. And then of course, Luis Rivera, he was already in prison. So that was 3. And then COVID happened. I mean, that like delayed a bunch of crap. They had the hung trial, and or hung jury with Katie and Sigfredo, and I think it spooked them. I don't care what anyone says. And so then it was like the 1 by 1 kind of thing. But you got to remember, it's not like this is a cold case and they haven't done anything since 2014. It's slow and steady wins the race.
so hot targets. I think that, it's gotten to the point that I guarantee you that the law enforcement officers that are tracking them 24 hours a day don't even pretend to hide it anymore. They just see them and wave.
I want to break down the station.
This was when Katie's trial was delayed. So it was during COVID. So I have to think it was like 2020 or 2021.
When this pre-trial happens, because it's really such an eerie and sad case on a lot of different levels. Tom, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate you taking the time.
But you just can't talk about the case without talking about all of it. It's the Adelsons that had a motive to get this murder done so that Wendy could move. You will not be asked to decide about them, but the evidence is clear that the thing was ultimately done for Wendy. Sigfredo Garcia and Luis Rivera were told that it was for Wendy. They believed they were doing it for Wendy. Possibly because that's true. I mean, ultimately it was for Wendy, but also possibly because the person that hired them, this defendant, was walling Charlie off from them. Walling Sigfredo off from knowing that the money was coming from Charlie, the boyfriend, the dentist.
As I asked the court to appoint the public defense.
No, there is no closed caption because this is alive. There is not closed caption and alive. And this is my creation, this video, where I have taken a bunch of clips and it is still in the editing software. So I'm really sorry. Now this is some good stuff. This was July 2022. This was Tara was there for Katie's sentencing. And on that same day, guess who had a status hearing? Charlie Adelson. It was the first time Tara ever saw him in person. But she did like just kind of an impromptu interview. So there's some clips.
As office for purposes of appeal, because she's indigent. So
now she's talking about Katie was indigent the second trial. So the first trial she paid for them, and she paid Sigfredo's. And then this the second trial, she had to file indigent with the state. And then the state paid Tara and Chris for the second trial. And apparently that's public record what they were paid. But we won't know what they got the first trial.
See, I reached out to Jessica Yeri, who is a public defender here. She's fantastic, and we will work as closely with them as possible. The appeals.
I agree. I need a Steve Cohen. Like, I really just don't have the bandwidth to, like, there's so many interviews and things I want to do, but when I'm at work, I'm like thinking about work, and then I get home at 6 o'clock at night. I mean, maybe that's when I should reach out to Sam Zaganaw.
But I have to say that it's been a pleasure. And everybody, you're gonna feel like you're all family. It's been 6 years. So, yeah, appreciate everybody being so great.
Saying that she does plan to.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, our hope of what the result of an appeal will be, because I mean, part of getting acquittal is overturning a jury verdict. But of course, that's really the last and only option at this point. So
Option is saying more.
that is potentially an option. And so,
Cooperating still.
I mean,
The other option is cooperating still.
that's up to the state. Because the ball's in their court.
Did she try to talk to the state and
Since the verdict,
since the verdict?
she has not been in a very good state of mind
Yeah.
since even during and after the trial. So I'm hoping now that since this is over, we can,
You said in your statement that she really hopes that everyone involved will.
yes,
So could part of that be even if the court doesn't want to hear it, can she still tell the world what she knows?
well, I don't think the court is the audience at this point, it would be the prosecution.
But
Okay.
reject.
And remember too, she is not the only one that has information. There's one person still who has never spoken. She probably has the most compelling information of everybody else. So the hope is maybe,
Maybe they should have a three-way call with each other about it.
right? No, they only had that one three-way call in the 6 years that the state obtained, and it just happened by happenstance that she called his mom and he called his mom at the same time. And you guys that was all in discovery. That was during the trial. It's the only time they've ever spoken to each other directly. Were the days leading up to the trial on that recording. All the other people that you hear on that recording, there's only one call with Katie, but that's through a three-way.
Other three-party call though, according to her record.
According to who's record?
Her jail. She was cited for third-party phone calls that came on.
Her recorded phone calls for third-party calls, and I will tell you, it was just me and her on the phone call. So it's weird. I know that there's a voice recognition system on the phone, so if they hear of a third party, but remember the prosecutor.
I always wondered how jails knew if you were on a three-way call. I'm like, how do they know? She said there's a voice recognition software. Interesting.
She can pull all thousands of her jail phone calls, and they've been monitoring it.
Can you tell us why Katie was crying before the verdict was read?
I don't know. I mean,
Was she having a bad feeling about it before the verdict,
the moment the door opened and the jurors walked in, we knew, because not one of them would make eye contact with us. And based on my experience, and I get it, those jurors, I mean, they poured their heart and soul into this case. I can tell you that from sitting there every single day and watching how intently each and every one of them paid attention. So regardless of the verdict, I have to say, on a case as intense as this, because I've never seen a case with such a fact like this before, and I've tried almost over 50 jury trials, and there will never be a case that compares to this one. And those jurors, and I'd say they sat there every single day and took notes and paid attention. So regardless of the verdict, I want to give the jurors, thank you for just paying attention and, listening. It's a very, very, very difficult.
I do not think Sigfreda will ever talk. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere in this video, but they talk about that, like what happens to people in prison that assist police. It's not good. And they do not think he will ever talk.
As you all know, because you've all been living, all these spaces there have been seeing you guys. as the clears. So we all know though that this is not the end of it. As you all know from our opening statement, what our true belief is, that this is not, that justice hasn't anywhere near been completely served. So, and I meant that when I said that today in the sentencing, I meant it. So in the hopes that things can be done, just to make sure, because my heart breaks for the Markel family every single day. And when I found out today that Wendy Adelson is still not alive, she said in court, in Katie's trial, you know, I'm trying to get them back together. And as soon as she left the stand, everything ceased.
So,
So
Tara,
we will do everything that we can. We're still, I know a lot of people have all these preconceived.
Let me tell y'all, we don't like Wendy. Tara doesn't like her either. She says a lot, but yeah, she was disgusted by her.
Notions and all these assumptions about who is paying our legal fees and all of that. You can all ask the state attorney, they know.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I just think she got too close to Katie, but it's interesting to hear all this.
Where every penny came from, and that it had nothing to do with the Adelsons. You know, I don't know how much clearer we can make that. I know that perception is still going on.
what is the amount approximately?
If you pull up her, you can look, she has to put how much in her motion to declare indigent for costs, and you can see how much we charged our retainer for the second trial. I'm gonna let you know, I mean, we said it very early on, it was her family. Remember, her mother passed away 6 months after her arrest.
Right.
Her mother worked full.
Okay, Primetime KCL is awesome, and she is in the chat. This is not to be confused with Cool Lady.
Decades as a nurse. One thing that people do forget when it comes to Katie, she does get lost in the shuffle all the time. And I understand because the primary people are the ones who put things into motion. But when she does get lost in the shuffle, people do forget, you know, that she hasn't seen her kids in 6 years and she did lose her mother. And she does have a family. People think that she is, because she has kids with Sigfredo Garcia, that just means that she is, you know, you lie down with dogs, you wake up with fleas. And I just hope that sometimes people will take a chance to really see the person that she is, because I've come to know her. And I truly, truly, truly mean it when I say that I do wish that justice really, and then all answers to this puzzle will eventually be answered and conflict. And there's still people who haven't said a word. So people, most of them, well, I only know of one person who hasn't said a word. Just on my involvement in the case, I know never heard from someone who we all know has direct knowledge.
There's conversations with him leading up to trial when you were prepping him to be a witness. What happened there? What, was he reluctant? Did he?
It wasn't really, and it's so funny because everyone said, oh, you know, you were prepping him. It was more of me trying to get him to testify.
Do you know what he was gonna say?
No.
You don't know?
No. Not directly.
Did he say something like, don't bring me up to Tallahassee or something? Like he didn't want to be.
It was more, I can tell you all this, and you're all the media. And from the things that aren't on the surface, and if you look into things that you can't see and are going on, for example, in the prisons, and the fact that this case was on the media, it was being played in the prisons. So we all know that how things work in prison rules. If you cooperate in any way, shape, or form with the government, what happens to you in prison? So that is, I mean, if you get.
Did you hear what she just said? We all know what happens to you in prison if you cooperate with the government at all. And I'm telling y'all, that's Sigfredo. And I just want to say, Kristen H., will you be my gray bay? My Steve Cohen.
Transcripts of Luis Rivera's latest depo, the one that we took the Friday before. We had asked him about that. And if you get those transcripts, you will see he explains like how things work in prison. If you keep your mouth shut, you're revered as, you know, a god in prison. But if you talk, it's a death sentence. So, but I was trying my best and within my powers. I mean, as the case was coming up, remember also too, we had another witness who had said previously and gave him a sworn testimony.
Yes, Primetime KCL used to be just KCL, but when all the Cookster stuff happened, you know, she had to change the name. We love Primetime KCL.
You all know him. He's a what was the name again? He just took his life sentence.
I know y'all don't have to like Tara Quas, but it's interesting to hear her say this. She knows discovery stuff and she gives some little insight and she talks about Wendy in a moment.
It's on the, and he was a witness against Luis Rivera, because Luis Rivera
I
had said
agree.
to him in jail that he lied, and we listed him as a witness. Rayborn, thank you. And then as the case was coming to trial, believe it or not, started calling our office and saying, I will not. I got my life sentence. I don't care what happens. I'm not getting on that.
That's Walter Cole Rayburn.
Right. And then so, like, even too with Sigfredo, there's only so much that we can.
Okay, did you hear that? True Crime Wifey, you might know this Rayburn guy. I sent myself the article. Apparently, he was in jail with Luis Rivera, and he claims that Luis Rivera said he lied. I'm trying to share my screen. This is all just a mess. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know. I might have to do it at the end. It's because this isn't in a web browser, but the guy's like rough. He's got all these tattooed neck and all this, but I bet True Crime Wifey knows a lot about it, and maybe we'll do a show on it.
And I'm not his attorney, so I can't ask him. I would love to ask him, but if I asked him anything, I would become a witness. And I didn't want to risk myself being rejected on the case. So I'm just hoping now that the posture of the things have changed. I don't know if things have changed on his side. Things have changed. So I don't know. There's always, I don't know, I can't even begin to tell you why I've always thought the case was gonna go one way. This case has had so many curveballs that I still can't wrap my head around.
Do you know if this case will be released? Of Garcia speaking with Megan right before trial?
Those weren't sealed.
Is there other one?
The only ones I requested to be sealed were mine with Sigfredo, because he's my witness. So
would you release that now that it's?
I don't want to do anything to jeopardize the upcoming prosecution of Mr. Charlie. If it's something that will help the state, no problem. But I will leave it in their hands. So, but if there is anything, I'm not going to do anything to jeopardize the prosecution of Charles Adelson. Because regardless of the question marks that loom around other members of that family who may know or not know or what they do know, you can all tell from our last trial, we are at 100% agreement that Mr. Adelson is going to be brought to justice.
What was it like seeing him in court?
This is the first time I've ever been in a room with him. And so many things I'd love to say and ask. And I'm sure, I don't know, just so many things of all the lives that he has destroyed. Not only the Markels, his family, his nephews, his son that he had while he was out. And then I will not even begin with Katie and all the people who have no direct affiliation with the players in this case. And just the one thing everyone can agree on, all the children. Dan Markel's boys are, I hope they get to an age, and they will get there. And the one thing that family will not be able to stop them is access to the intent. And the Markel family has been.
See, Tara and I are actually on the same page on this. She said they can't stop the boys from getting on the internet. And so that's how I feel. And that's a funny still picture of Tara.
So great in keeping the memory of Dan Markel alive and in the media. And I hope that one day those boys will take it upon themselves to do the research and find out from the rest of the world who their father really was, and then take the necessary steps to reach out to their grandparents. Because they're so young now, they're still within the shield of their parent. But it is a shame, because I can tell you one thing, the composure that the Markel family has had.
Correct, Jean.
I mean, to sit in that courtroom.
So Jean's asking, If Sigfredo Garcia didn't talk because it's snitching to law, but yet Luis Rivera was a Latin king and he helped law enforcement to bust the other. That's right. That's why I'm like, what's going to happen to him when he gets out? Like, you know, and that's also why he is still in federal prison. He's not going to go to state prison because they know he would have a target on his back. But yes, I mean, he knew that was the only way he was going to get out.
2 trials. I just sit there and listen, and their composure is just, I don't think I could have. And I met once I sit in there, continues to this day, because now it's like they started all over again. I have to go through the process all over again. And I meant it when I said that Katie's heart breaks for them. It does. I mean, every single day she asks, you know, I can't imagine. And she sees them in court. You can tell in their faces, they're not, as the years go on, it breaks my heart. And even with us as the lawyers, there were times when they opened the doors for us. They're just so gracious and respectful of the judicial process. So I would also say thank you to them, because emotions can run really high, especially in a situation like this. And I've never seen such composure in such an inflamed case by a victim before. It was pretty amazing.
His case, hold on, his case is still on appeal. Okay. So he, because since his lawyer, his appellate lawyer, you know, was also the lawyer for one of the snitches, Amy Markel. So I don't understand how he is representing Sigfredo Garcia, and he also represented someone that agreed to snitch.
That I did not know.
Yes, that's a conflict for anyone who wants to know, because that just does not seem right.
Let's take that question head on. You're asking why isn't Sigfredo Garcia coming forward? Okay, now this gets into Luis Rivera. Right now, Luis Rivera is sending letters to the state attorney's office begging for help because his life is at risk. Now, this is a high-ranking Latin king. He gets different privileges than somebody like Sigfredo Garcia, who's not a Latin king. Sigfredo Garcia.
So for all y'all that have been asking these gang questions, here's your answers, because apparently these attorneys know. But
knows that if you are to testify and tell what the truth is, that King Anthony Hebrew was involved,
These are the kings.
and you are serving life already, that you are going to have a very tough existence, but that it potentially could go beyond just his own life to the life of his children. So these are the type of pressures that are involved. But those same pressures right now are applying to Luis Rivera. Luis Rivera has made a note to these letters. I'm in harm's way right now. That is influencing every word he has to say. Because if the truth is that what he alluded to, that King Anthony is involved and that others are involved, that opens up a can of worms. It's a very dangerous can of worms for him and for his family. So these are some of the reasons why potentially it's not coming forward, but also you have the fact that the case is still open on appeal, fighting a life sentence on wanting to deal with it.
What makes more sense?
yeah,
That they're scared of a dentist and his family, or that they're scared of the Latin kings? But had a conversation with Charlie Adelson.
Let's look at this realistically. The belief is that Sigfredo Garcia walked into a garage and shot Professor Dan Markel in the head.
Right.
It's also clear that he loved Catherine McBain more than anything. Isn't it also a correct assumption that that's the same man that would confront the man that's in between him and the woman that he loves? What we know from Luis Rivera and from the other evidence is that Luis Rivera and Sigfredo Garcia were tracking Katie and Charles. We know that Sigfredo Garcia contacted Charles Adelson. There's text messages that came out the trial. Did Sigfredo contact you? We also know that just 2 weeks prior to the murder, Sigfredo Garcia, in the middle of the road, confronted Catherine McBain and Charles Adelson. Now, this is either a situation that these two guys that are fighting over the same girl were involved in a conspiracy together where they're fighting over the same girl, or these two guys came to an agreement. And that agreement was, I will break up with this girl. I will pay you. You commit this murder for me.
this was an interesting strategy. I mean, not strategy, theory. He's saying that maybe, or he believes that Charlie met Sigfredo through Katie, and then it's like, look, I know you want your girl back, so what you're going to do is take out my brother-in-law for me, and then I'll break up with her. Because they did break up right after the murder.
You get back a woman that you love. And interesting.
And I'm not saying I believe all this. I'm just, again, y'all open your mind and just try to listen to some other things. That's all I'm saying.
No. What happens right after the murder, Charles Adelson breaks up with Catherine Brown.
Just to let you know, we have Charlie Adelson's iCloud, okay? It was provided to us from the state that they fought tooth and nail.
So I want to know this. If they have his iCloud, whatever that totally means, does that mean it's in discovery and we can get it? Hey, Fletcher boy. Yeah, I know it is wintry.
To not present that evidence to the jury, because in those are all of the text messages between Katie and Charlie Adelson. We have all of the text messages between each other on the day of the homicide, where he is at work all day and she's like, hey, what are you doing later? This doesn't sound like a conversation between people
Good night,
who are
Bob.
conspiring. So it's amazing to us that they have all this, but they're trying to keep it from the jury. So we actually have all that evidence there that they actually know about each other. Who's to say also that Sigfredo just introduced Charlie to Louis? Louis is taking everybody for a ride. Everyone. And I'm telling you right now,
Welcome.
The answer to what really happened lies with Louis Rivera. And he got the deal of a century to come into court. He doesn't care about Katie, obviously. He's a man that takes lives. So he has no problem testifying against her because he's just taking her freedom. That's why I can't understand why she can't take the plea, but it's because she is not a piece of like he is.
Along that same note,
Sorry.
Louis Rivera has no problem testifying against Katie because that's who he is. He's somebody who advances himself by taking from others.
No, Top Cat. If it's in discovery, that's why they play games, right? Prosecutors, defense attorneys, and they have all this stuff in discovery. So they give them mounds of stuff, and then it's like, well, go through all that, and you can figure out what I'm using.
Catherine McMahon helped take life of Professor Markel, but what would be stopping her from taking life of Charles Adelson?
Yeah.
You can't be of high morals in one situation and low morals at the other. You would, in a second, for your own benefit. Look, if she did this, commit the murder for money, then there would be nothing stopping her to do this to be able to get home. Can't be of high morals and low morals at the same time. She's sitting constantly waiting for that trial because the only thing she has left at this point, this government has to rip that away from her, is her innocence.
Did you look into purchasing a home here in Tallahassee?
I did, yeah.
And did your brother Charlie convince you not to do that?
I don't remember him convincing me not to. The only reason why I didn't was because I was waiting on the money from Danny from the settlement and he didn't pay it, so I couldn't afford the house.
Which is a lie. We all know, because you have to get pre-qualified when you put in an offer. And even in the email she sent the the realtor, it just says, there's ongoing litigation. It doesn't say she needs money. I see people talking about YouTube lives and ads. So as a creator, you have a choice if you want to have ads in your lives. So I never have ads in my lives. And then if somebody is on replay, then it could have an ad. But if you have premium, you don't see all that. I'm just saying. In just a minute, we're going to look at some awesome shirts again.
Mom didn't want you to buy the house, did she?
That's not true. My parents were looking to buy a house in Tallahassee as well.
Thanks, Fletcher.
Didn't purchase the TV. The TV was a gift that my brother paid for, but my mom.
Y'all remember this when she almost says Hitman? This is it.
Went and got it and he reimbursed her. So the contract would have been under her name and her number. So when the repair guy was coming, they may have called or texted the number on the account instead of my number.
Okay. And after the murder,
compared to the cost of a new TV would be.
Who paid the repairman?
I did.
The repairman, you're familiar with his statement that you seemed really upset that day. What were you upset about?
I have no idea.
Were you upset that day?
Don't remember yes, I was upset that day.
Yeah.
I was upset. I remember Danny wanted to take the kids swimming and I wanted to pick them up earlier in the day.
Okay,
and
so nothing to do with the TV.
I don't think so. I probably wasn't that upset about the TV.
I love George's painful silence she does. Brilliant, and it's really hard to do. But it just makes Wendy feel like that's like an hour long.
Did you ever use the TV as code for the murder?
No.
Did you ever hear your mom do that?
No.
The TV is the first piece of code that we hear in this case. Charlie Adelson got Wendy a TV as a divorce present, as a cheaper alternative to hiring a hitman. Then the same TV is her alibi for the murder, a service appointment that her mother set for her from South Florida, at least there's some indication of that. And then on the wire, when Donna Adelson is speaking in code in that first call, weird thing to do after being approached by an alleged gangster, she says this TV is going to cost about $5,000, referring to $5,000 on the note that the undercover handed her. It's obvious they're referring to their conspiracy and hearkening back to this TV as code for the murder of Dan Markel. The players in this case are very smart. The crime in this case was given a lot of thought and preparation. We know that the seed was planted for this thing almost a year or more before it came to fruition. They thought of everything: a clever TV-related alibi for Wendy, a frame job for Lacoste, bullet bourbon, and they insulated themselves by hiring this defendant as a middleman between them, the ones that wanted it done, and the shooters. Everyone on the board in this case had some limits to their knowledge. And that was really smart. That made this case much harder to break. The defense has told you that the defendant made the joke about the TV being cheaper than hitman.
Jean, I remember when Katie was on the stand and said she didn't take the deal because she didn't want to give up Sigfredo. There's something more to that. Yeah, I think it is. I don't care what people say. I think the Adelsons paid her legal bills, and I think they were like, we will pay all of this. We'll pay Sigfredo's, whatever. And I think she really thought, I'll get off on this. What a fool. Okay. This is the guy that supposedly, thank you, Christine.
Oh, thank you.
This is the guy, what's his name? He looks Walter Rayborn. So he was accused of a home invasion robbery, and he is serving like a prison sentence, but he was in jail with Luis Rivera, and he says, I mean, I don't know, like, who do we believe? That Luis Rivera lied to him or lied about his Wendy stories and all that stuff. But I hadn't heard any of this, so I'm hoping somebody in here knows more about it. But Tara kind of mentioned it in one of those interviews that we were watching. So, yeah, the guy is scary. All right, I'm going to need a second to pull the video again. I hate all these pop-ups. Yeah, but he killed, I don't remember. He apologized to the families of Lance Love and Cornelius Poole, who were in the courtroom for the plea. And so he killed 2 men. If I could go back and change it, I would. Oh, okay. Well, that worked. All right, let me try this. Oh, here, I found the deal on the audio. This will share my system audio. Okay, hopefully this is better.
And to people he hardly knew. Who are those people? The only person that testified in this courtroom that they had heard that joke was Wendy.
Okay, thank you, True Crime Wifey. She's our local Tallahassee boots on the ground. She says Rayborn killed 2 former foster care kids. He's a liar. His girlfriend is bad news too. Very wealthy and connected. Love and Poole, and then burned down their apartment, killing their dog too. Don't mess with the dogs.
Lacoste was asked, The lawyer said they said it, but you guys have to refer to your notes and your own memories about what the evidence showed. But Lacoste was asked, did he say the joke at the dinner they all went to with Wendy and Garcia and Catherine Magdalena? I'm sorry, Wendy and Charlie and Catherine Magdalena. And he says, no. He does not recall that joke being made. And he
Now, see, this is interesting. Again, more emphasis on Wendy. And I had never really thought about it. But this is the closing of Charlie's trial. And Georgia says, Charlie doesn't talk about telling that hitman joke to everybody. But you know how Wendy's always like, my brother repeated it to everybody. Georgia says, the only person saying that is Wendy.
thinks he would have recalled it had it been made. So there is no evidence in this trial that the defendant told that joke to people he hardly knew.
Calls. She was on some of the calls I listened to.
Did you have any secret meetings with your brother post bump that happened in South Florida?
No.
You were asked about Jeffrey Lacoste and the way that your relationship ended. What is OkCupid?
OkCupid is a dating website.
Were you on that dating website?
I was.
Were you on that dating website at the time that you were dating Mr. Lacoste?
No, I wasn't.
And were you speaking? So I guess if you weren't on it, you weren't speaking to multiple men from the website during the time you were dating Mr. Lacoste. And I'll remind you that you provided your phone in this case and it was cell-righted, downloaded.
Argument. Right.
Didn't you just say that you weren't on OkCupid at the time that you were dating Jeffrey Lacoste?
I don't know when we say I officially stopped dating Jeff Lacoste, but there's a chance that I don't remember in 2014 whether I had gotten the app and started talking to people before we officially broke up.
Okay, so my point is there's a chance that he was right. You were being unfaithful or at least talking to other people. He had a reason to be jealous.
I think he had some serious jealousy issues that may or may not have been founded.
Yeah, I think we got from your testimony that you believe he had serious jealousy issues. My question to you is, did he have a reason to be?
No.
So he was wrong.
He was wrong in June when he accused me of being with multiple people that I wasn't.
How does OkCupid work on your phone? OkCupid can be used on a variety of platforms, including iOS and Android, as well as on your home computers. You go to the main screen where all your applications are installed on your device and that are grouped. You can tap on the OkCupid icon.
So here's an AI overview of OkCupid's chat. In 2004, their messaging system was a key differentiator from swipe-based apps. And it had open messaging where users could send a message directly to somebody else without having to like them first. They had blind experiments in 2014. And then because the messaging was open, people would get overwhelmed information, so they ended up changing it. And then this was an article that it was changed in 2017 so that it wasn't the typical open message like in 14, which is just reason why I suspect that this is possibly how Wendy and Sigfredo would message each other. Or, I mean, it could have even been Wendy and Katie. I don't know. I feel like Georgia brought it up for more reason than just to impeach Wendy over Jeff. I could be wrong, but
And one thing everyone's consistent with, there's no question. When it comes to the defense, we do 100% believe that Charlie Adelson was behind all this.
okay, so I want to know what y'all think. Do you think they possibly used this OkCupid? I never even heard of this dating website. I would love to know what people think. I remember years ago, people were using Words with Friends to cheat and like message, because you could be playing somebody and you could message them. I think it's a really good possibility. Okay, stupid. Is it still around? I've just never heard of it.
See, I don't want to commit, but
All right, so she was just asked, Tara was just asked, what about Wendy? And just watch this. Oh, I just heard a car slide down my street. Okay.
I would say, you know, I'm a person who knows about the standard of proof, and I have to say, and I don't want to get, you know, look at my cross-examination of Jeffrey Lacoste, and that will let you know how I stand on that position. Okay, and I think you know what I mean. That actually changed for me from the first to the second trial as I was looking over things again. But that's why my cross was that way. And my position on her is a little different. She's a member of the Florida bar, so she's an attorney. So I just leave that before I get myself in any trouble. So.
As a member of the.
Either we have a different ethical standard. So in terms of.
So see, Tara is scared to say much about Wendy. And she said, because we have a different ethical standard, which I know is just comical, but coming from them. But people are scared because she's an attorney. I'm not saying George is scared, but I think it's interesting what Tara says.
Just from what my understanding is that I found out from the victim impact, which I don't have access to the Markels, okay? From one of the victim impact statements I've discovered, because I read them all late last night, that you recall she testified in the trial, you know, when we crossed her, you know, you haven't let the Markels have any communication with their kids. That she goes, oh no, I just invited them. Remember she said that? I just invited them to the bar mitzvah, and, you know, we're working things out. I'm paraphrasing. But come to find out that after the trial, all of that was stopped. She actually had the bar mitzvah and didn't invite them. So that to me tells me that you only did that to be able to testify to that in preparation as you knew what crossing the questions were coming.
But just to be factual, she uninvited them once Charlie was arrested.
But
So it was before the trial.
Yeah, but when you think about that, the arrest of Charlie had to do was based entirely on that video. So it's not as if that anything changed in terms of what you feel that they were suspecting that he had anything to do with that. All of that was the same. So if she tries to come up with an excuse, oh, it was the arrest, who cares?
Right.
You know what I mean? They didn't say, oh, hey, by the way, I know you haven't arrested Charlie, he was in for 5 years, but do it now. That had nothing to do with the Markels. And I'm telling you, the Markels to take that position that I will put whatever aside so that I can have a relationship with my grandchildren. That shows you the type of character that they have. And that she is still not allowing them to have any relationship with their paternal grandparents and their cousins. I just found out too, I didn't know that Shelly Markel had kids. So.
I mean, y'all can say whatever, Leslie, you're drinking the Kool-Aid, but when I hear Tara saying that, she's like, I just found out Shelly Markel had kids. She didn't. I do think it gets personal. I think she was way too close to Katie, but I think she knows this case. She knows a lot of the details, and she is disgusted by it. And she does talk about how nice the Markels are.
That's where our position comes in, that I hope that one day and somehow that all questions are answered. And it will never bring closure, but that it brings the justice that will at least bring some sort of semblance of peace to the Markels.
How are Katie's kids doing? Who are they with?
Well, I can't tell you who they're with. They're with family. Okay, and I only say that because you run the name, and that's I can tell you all this now. It was Katie's instruction. Do not bring my family into this media storm because I don't want the ripple effect of,
And we know that Tara's talking about one of Katie's brothers said, don't bring me into this. When I did the live with the, oh my God, it's not tag along, it's Tagalog or whatever. We did the translation of her and her brother's phone call, and he talks about that. Like, we have to protect our children. Sir Tedrick Walker, didn't Charlie and Wendy get into an argument when Louis and Sigfredo and Katie were arrested? I mean, I can only imagine they did, but I've never like heard that as legit, but would love to know more.
One of our brothers' businesses was sort of affected in the very beginning because of the association. So whereby it would have, oh, you know, I got things on Instagram, no family is there for her. And it literally was Katie saying, they do not come into this courtroom because of the cameras. And I mean, that's why my heart breaks for the children that are all affected by this, because they had nothing to do with anything or anybody, and they are the ones that are suffering.
Does she talk to them?
Does she talk to
Her children?
She does occasionally. It's getting a little difficult now because they're getting older. And
See, I mean, this was 2022, and Tara was retained, like what, 2016? I think they're like girlfriends, you know, like she knows everything about her.
in an area where they can understand, you know, what prison is and what jail is. And because when she was arrested, I mean, her son, I think, was 9 and her daughter was barely 4 or 5. And she'd been in now for 6 years. So, and I'm hoping if they ever look up anything on the internet, that they know that their mother loves them to death. And, you know, she's always just had nothing but love for her kids. And this is the only way. It's sad that I have to use this and the internet as a way to get messages out there, but that it is what it is with this case. And
See, Tara wants to get it out there too. So, Kristen, that's I don't know if y'all can hear that car sliding. That's the pitch. Like, we are here for the digital footprint on YouTube for the Markel boys.
you know, it's almost like one door closes now and another door just today, same day, first case management. It's very weird though, seeing him in person for the first time.
I do, and I'm not trying to defend not taking the plea and all this, but I do think, I mean, I'm trying to like think if you're in jail, right? You have no access to what is going on out there in the world. You really don't. And I mean, this day and age, I mean, y'all know we like live and breathe this. We're like re-listening to trials and jail calls and all this, and we can all like play that Monday morning quarterback 100 times over. But like, maybe Katie's like, who should I trust? I mean, you know, Charlie's kind of been taking care of me. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how all that was presented. I would love to know more. Maybe Tara would tell us that.
Even for me, because I feel like I've been, you know, I've lived this case for 6 years and it's almost like he became a real person. I've heard the voices from the wiretaps and that voice haunts me in my sleep.
Thank you.
So, you know, I'll probably see you guys when the trial comes up, because I'll probably come back and I can't not watch. I mean, this is 6 years. So, and I'm just hoping that I can't say it enough, that there comes some kind of finality and then all questions about this case are answered. That's what I'm praying. So, but we'll see. We'll see. I wish I could give you guys more answers, but most of them are, I don't know. So, and we've been as forthcoming with, you know, everything as it relates to this case, but I cannot trust you enough, because I know you are of that absolute belief that we are faithful by the Adelsons. Absolutely not. If you look at Mr. DaCosta and I, the majority of our practice is public defender work. So it's not about the money for us. We're in the red as it relates to this case already, but it was just, you know.
Thank you, True Crime Wifey.
Can't even begin.
Very
This case
sweet.
will always, it's gonna be a part of me forever. And I'm not, even though you heard, you know, with the public defense office, Katie will do whatever we can to assist, but we're not leaving her. We're still on this and wait until there is a day where there is some really sort of absolute finality, if that can even be achieved, but hopefully at least some questions, if they can be answered, will be answered. Because I have no idea what he's gonna say. So, we'll see.
His attorney says that they have truth on their side.
Talking about Charlie.
No mind. Would that be coming from his sister?
Did you hear that little side job? So they said, oh, yeah, Charlie's attorney says they have truth on their side. And Tara's like, is that going to be coming from his sister?
I'm sorry?
And would the truth be coming from his sister?
Oh.
But you see, I was with my little snippy comments, and I don't want to do that, so, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I didn't intend on giving a comment, I'm sorry, but yeah, I'm lucky I didn't break down into tears, you know. It was a very emotional thing for us with the verdict the last time. That's true. And was able to see that Luis Rivera was a liar and that everything that his testimony could not be trusted. I don't want this jury not to be able to see. I don't know how much of that came from them looking at him and being able, you know, just how he reacted to us. But I know that everyone on that last jury, one thing they could.
Oh, that's excellent, True Crime Wife. June said Wendy and Charlie were arguing. I'm like, how would we know that? That makes sense. See, now I'm going to go down the June rabbit hole.
Agree on was that Luis Rivera was not telling the truth. And the entire case against Casey rests on his word.
Let me give you a real world example. And this goes to our concern about jurors, witnesses wearing masks in trial. You sit down at a poker table, you'll see a lot of poker players wearing glasses. The reason why they're wearing not glasses, sunglasses, the reason why they're wearing sunglasses is that you can tell a lot by somebody's eyes, the direction that they look, whether they blink. The same thing applies to the sun coming out of your face, whether you're smiling, whether you're pursing your lips. These are important things to be able to meet.
It sounds like they wanted jurors to not have to wear masks. I think that's why they got the trial delayed. And I don't know if y'all know this or not, but Chris DeCoste and Tara both are cancer survivors. He had, I think it was leukemia, and she had breast cancer.
As an attorney cross-examining a witness, I know when I'm hitting a pressure point based on the facial expressions, and there are thousands of micro expressions of the face. So by covering up half the face is a concern, and then there's the other issue that we raised in court, which is it's a lot easier for a jury potentially to make a decision on somebody that's faceless.
I know why it's obvious to me why the state from day one has been trying to rush into this.
I think it's funny that they like know who he is. I bet you these people watch YouTube. Sir Tedrick Walker, we'd love for you to get a membership. YouTube assigns them. Like there's no way to pick who gets them, but just so you know, you can join for 99 cents a month. So would love anybody to do that, but if you want, you could subscribe. Thank you.
Trial, and then at the same time not playing fairly when it comes to Miss McDonald, because they say that they're ready for trial, but still are dumping mountains of evidence on us so that our attention can be distracted from preparing for trial. So it's offensive to us that they come in here and we want to get this done and over with, because Catherine McDonald's life has been on the line for 5 years, even though they have offered her, since the day she was arrested, immunity in exchange for giving up Charlie Adelson, but that would require her to lie and say that she was involved. She has been incarcerated for 5 years, maintaining her innocence. So this trial isn't, oh, let's just rush and get to it and get it over with. This is the difference between whether she gets to see her kids to.
So I know a lot of y'all are hating on Tara, but I respect her passion because that's how I am with my job. Like some people would say, well, I don't think you can be too passionate. I had one leader once tell me that, and somebody else said, never let anybody tell you you're too passionate. Never.
Touch them again,
And thank you, Beach Bum. Very kind.
or whether she's going to spend the rest of her life in jail for a crime that she did not commit.
Well, thank you all so much. I appreciate it. I still
Did you have any secret meetings with your brother post bump that happened in South Florida?
No.
I thought that was an interesting question. I don't have anything on that, but why is Georgia asking that?
You're referring to the recent investigation?
Yes.
Okay, just so you know, we're kind of nearing the end of a lot of this stuff, but I say end, it's like 30 minutes. But these are just like some of the clips that gave me things to think about. And so this is pre-trial hearing stuff. So we can discuss.
Go ahead.
And even if the state isn't going to use the information,
Lymphoma.
we still need to know the extent to which they violated.
Okay, Chris had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and Tara had breast cancer. Thank you, True Crime Wifey.
They intercepted and monitored attorney-client communications.
and communications that are protected by the fiduciary.
Okay, so some of this is what I'm wondering. Is this stuff still being investigated? Could this be part of things with Harvey? They, being the state, had wires taps on like somebody's cell phone, Jackie's or Josh's or something, because they think maybe they were using an Apple Watch to talk with Harvey or have Harvey and Donna communicate when they would go visit her. And they did a whole investigation. It was in February of 2025, I believe. I mean, is there some witness tampering going on? Are they going to do any charges, or they're just going to throw all this out? I don't know. I'm curious what y'all's thoughts are on it. But I did hear, I think it was Tim Jansen. He said it's made now visiting your client in jail there. There is definitely no phone, no Apple Watch, nothing going in ever since this.
Client privilege. We don't have all of that information yet, and they have not responded, as indicated in my reply yesterday. The state hasn't responded to those emails.
Hay plays in the dirt.
Ms. Dugan,
Yes, sir.
concerning the aspect of the recent investigation, which materials are yet to be provided and why?
Yes, sir. May I also address the 100,000 emails?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. 100,000 emails somebody asked. And Julia, that's awesome. Congratulations. You'll be free. That's awesome. Congratulations. See free.
So those 100,000 emails are redacted privileged communications that the defense recently received that occurred.
Oh, interesting. So 100,000 emails, those were defense retracted. And they had a third party that went through and reviewed them. Can only imagine. Thank you, boss lady. So kind.
Between the Adelsons and prior counsel. This communication was redacted by a taint team.
That's right.
It's never been seen by the prosecution.
The filter team documents you're
Yes, sir.
referring
Thank you,
to.
filter team. It's never been seen by the prosecution. It's obviously privileged. We obviously do not intend to use it in our case, having never seen it. And I also can't imagine a scenario where the defense would be using it in their case. I would feel like all of those, all of that information would be hearsay. It's all certainly hearsay. So the state is objecting to a continuance based on their needing to review all of the privileged communications with prior counsel.
When were the filter team documents provided?
They were provided on April 10th during, what's that? I want to double check. During Jason Newland's deposition by this defense team. Somehow, some question was asked where he referred to the filter team that the court referenced. And this defense team was not aware that the filter team had gone through all of those emails and kept all of the privileged emails from the
This is Adelson. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right.
I love one of these two where he asked Donna, what was your high school mascot? He's just trying to test the Zoom volume. And she's like, I don't know. I think that would be a funny thing on merchandise. What was your high school mascot? How does the gift membership work? There's a setting you have to turn on to accept it, and then people can give them, and YouTube just kind of allots them and gives them out to whoever. There's no way to give it to a certain person.
Let's do a mic check so you can hear everything happening in the room. Mr. Zellman?
Joshua Zellman on behalf of Mrs. Adelson.
Jackie Fulford on behalf of Mrs. Adelson.
Sir Catherine Dugan on behalf of the state.
All right, for everyone who has joined the Zoom this afternoon, there is not to be any recording of the Zoom. The pool expedited motion to continue the trial. The state has filed a response to this as well, and the defendant has filed a reply. In addition, the defendant has also filed a motion to compel. Mr. Zellman, you may argue your motion.
Your Honor, before we do that, I believe that the email from your office also indicated that you wanted to address the scope of the ceiling. That
We'll
would be.
get to that at the end, but unless you believe we need to do it right now.
That was another question I had. Like, what all was sealed? It was a lot of the Rob stuff, but does anybody know more on that?
given the nature of the materials and the basis for the, in part, the basis for continuance as well as the motion to compel, we would request that it be addressed at the beginning of the hearing.
Very well. Concerning the scope of the sealing, when this matter was first presented to me, when we had the phone conference on April 8th, as it related to matters pertaining to the warrants and any affidavits, any support for those as to the investigation that recently concluded, I am in agreement with you, those matters would be confidential. However, every filing that may even reference those materials, sealing those filings starts to become a question of whether things are exceeding the scope of confidentiality that's allowed by the rule of general administration. Mr. Zellman, why should all these matters remain sealed without redaction or other means that could be made to otherwise deal with the portions that are confidential?
Well, Judge, Jackie Fulford on behalf of Mrs. Adelson, our position is that the information that's contained in the items that Your Honor is referring to would need to be referred to also in the arguing of these motions, and we're here in open court, and I'm not sure how we protect the sealing of those documents when we're going to have to argue the very materials that serve the basis of why we're here.
Y'all know what was in the sealed documents? The description of the bar mitzvah dress. I'm just kidding. I mean, we're like, what is in there? Donna just wants she wants everything sealed, just like they wanted the small courtroom because she didn't want it to be a spectacle, yet she's the one that made the freaking spectacle. Thank you, green, pink, blue. I totally think Wendy sent herself the flowers and chocolates. Yes, men are not sending her that stuff. Her squeeze box or whatever John calls it isn't that good.
We're asking for a continuance and a motion to compel.
Is anyone actually getting into the warrants or the affidavits themselves with what you plan to argue?
Yes, Judge, and the materials from the investigation.
You have those to actually bring up as a part of your argument today?
Yes, Judge.
Not generally, not just referencing them, but the actual materials from the warrants and the affidavits.
Well, there need to be statements put on the record on behalf of Mrs. Adelson regarding what was claimed to have happened in the investigation that has since proven to be false, that has not been retracted by the state. And in making those arguments is...
Oh, they must be talking about the investigation in the jail with the Apple Watch or something. I don't know. Yes, Rosie, Tara is on Courtney. Is it Courtney Clenny's legal team? And as much as I can't stand Jackie, the best was when she rolled in that box that said Wendy Adelson on it for the trial.
Is part of the basis for why we need a continuance and why we're asking for the relief in the motion to compel, as well as additional depositions. And
to that end, Ms. Dugan, is the state planning to file any superseding indictment or any additional charges based on the investigation that is now concluded, or at least is alleged to have concluded?
No, sir, not to my knowledge.
With that being said, if the defense is seeking to file any motions related to these matters, they are not related to pending counts. However, you can pursue them as you believe them to be appropriate. As to the warrants and the applications, does the state have a position as to whether they should remain sealed or any documents referencing them should remain sealed without redaction?
No, sir. We would defer to the court. And some of the discovery the defense has moved to compel is sealed, or a lot of it is. And I actually brought a motion to unseal the documents and recordings related to that today so that those can be provided to the defense, either, but maybe for the limited purpose of discovery, but whatever the court prefers, we don't have a position.
Mr. Zellman is full for any additional argument.
No, Your Honor.
With there not being additional charges to be filed by the state concerning these matters, the court is going to unseal at this point the filings that have been previously filed under seal as it relates to the motion for continuance, the state's response, and also the reply as well. Any other matters that need to be reviewed by the court or to be unsealed from here the parties need to appropriately raise.
We have to change the narrative.
Does anybody know what that was sealed though? Was that when they let it out that there was a wiretap in February? Maybe that was it. Gay, you're welcome. I'm glad you've learned something from this. It's fun to like look all this up because there's a ton of stuff out there on the Adelsons.
Requesting here as far as the minimization instructions, all the logs, all of those things. I feel once the order to unseal has been signed, those can't all be disclosed. The only thing that I saw that would be additional that they are asking for is surveillance video, which is surveillance video from the jail, which I've been told has already been disclosed to the defense. They also asked for the financial records that are mentioned in the application. I was told that we subpoenaed Harvey Adelson's Zelle account. I found that Zelle.
Now that's what I want to know about too, the Zelle account. I mean, we heard that they bribed Drina and all that with money, but so what did we learn from the subpoenaed Zelle account? And John Smith, you're hysterical. Jackie Fulford went back to her combination funeral parlor and condom shop. Her motto is, "We've got you covered, coming and going."
Those Zelle records and had it sent to the defense this afternoon. So once those items are unsealed and they can be disclosed to the defense, that should be all of the discovery that pertains to the wire.
Please provide the order as the defense.
Extortion defense.
She says that she's sorry this has been our life for so many years. It has been torture, but your lawyer didn't want you to know what happened. I think if you did, our relationship and your with Charlie would have been much different. I hope he knew what he was doing. Your testimony was crucial. Let's see what a jury does to him and to the rest of us. You know I'm next, but that won't happen. I'll take care of that.
What date is that? Or
That
was
was-
that sent?
I'm
What
sorry?
date was that sent?
November 1st of 23.
Looking at this WhatsApp thread between Charlie Adelson and Donna Adelson, were some messages seen in 2023 that law enforcement did not previously have.
Correct.
Okay. If you could turn our attention to the first one from July of 2016. Okay. Do you mind going to the next? Thank you. All right, so they're talking about some good news.
Yes.
Okay, what's next? All right, so what does Charlie Adelson say here?
He says that
So he's texting about his attorney, Marcus, David Marcus. That was his name, Marcus. And I wanted to clip it in here, but I didn't have time. Marcus was originally subpoenaed to be a witness in Donna's trial, and he was doing everything he could to get out of it. Of course, then we know the trial was delayed, but then it didn't come up in the 2025 trial that I recall.
the information he got. No, it's in the paper from yesterday. And I spoke to Marcus this morning. He said it's not official yet, but it's looking that way after he spoke to Garcia attorney.
Okay, and when was that message sent?
July 21st of 2016.
Okay, was David Marcus spelled with a K? Was that Charlie Adelson's attorney at the time?
Yes.
So according to this text, Charlie Adelson's attorney was talking to Garcia's attorney. And he's letting his mother, Donna Adelson, know that in this message.
Yes.
Who did Marcus run into when he met with Garcia's lawyer?
Katie.
I believe 73A and 73 have been admitted.
There is no way that Marcus just happened to run into Katie. I'm sorry. This is all BS.
Point. They're in evidence. The objections are ruled.
What happened when Charlie Adelson's lawyer met with Garcia's lawyer? Who did they run into?
Ms. McBanwa.
Okay. Now, how do we know that Kaddie is Magmanwa?
That's how he had her listed in his contacts within his phone, Charlie Adelson's.
Okay. So throughout
I've never heard anything about them recovering a burner phone, but that might be something we don't know.
their relationship, Catherine McDaniel's phone number and all of these messages are all to Kaddie in his phone. That's how he spelled Katie.
Correct.
Okay. And then how does Donna Adelson respond to this?
To the small world comment, she replies that it is, and then he goes on to discuss the meeting.
So does he say that his attorney said they said hi to each other, they shook hands, he introduced himself, and she is nice and beautiful?
Correct.
Okay, and how does Donna Adelson respond?
Like all your girlfriends.
Okay, so this is July of 2016. So is this about 2 months after Garcia was arrested for the murder of Dan? I'm sorry. Yes, Alfredo Garcia was arrested for the murder of Dan Markel.
Yes.
Okay, and then what day did Charlie Adelson testify in his defense in that case?
November 2nd.
All right, and in this conversation between Donna Adelson and Wendy Adelson, did Donna Adelson agree that Charlie Adelson's testimony about being extorted was the truth, that he was telling the truth?
She did, yes.
Okay, can we see that exchange?
Yes.
Now, right before this exchange, did Wendy Adelson send a prayer hands emoji?
Yes.
Okay, and then what was Donna Adelson's response to that?
That we shouldn't have to pray. He's telling the truth, protected his little sister for years, differs through this, and now what? Prayer hands.
And then did she clarify?
Ooh, was that the last time Wendy talked to her mom? Remember when that just hit me when Georgia says, "When's the last time you talked to your mom?" And she's like, November. I guess though the hot mic call, I'm trying to remember what day that was, but yeah, Wendy was like, "Oh my God, there's no telling what my mom will say." True Crime Wifey, there's still something sealed. It remains sealed and still does after Donna's trial. ML tried to ask Georgia about it after verdict, but court TV Janae lady scolded him. Interesting. I bet it is Rob's deposition.
That she meant suffers, not differs?
Yes.
Okay, so what date was this text sent on?
Again, November 6th of 2023.
So this would have been about 4 days after Charlie Adelson's testimony,
Correct.
but before a verdict was rendered in the case.
That's correct.
It says that he's telling the truth, protected his little sister for years. Was Robert Adelson a witness in Charlie Adelson's trial? Was he called by either the state or the defense?
He was not.
Okay. So the only person that Wendy Adelson was a little sister of who testified in Charlie Adelson's trial was Charlie Adelson then.
That's correct.
And here she's saying he's telling the truth. Is that right?
Yes.
May continue your examination, student.
Okay, so I was asking you about this text that you received from Wendy Adelson. Can you tell me about this text?
Sure. She texted me that she was going to Gainesville for the weekend, and this was 2014. So I last lived in Gainesville about 3 years prior to that. Mentioned that she wanted that I mentioned the name of Jeff. I asked who was Jeff. The response was my boyfriend. I responded I didn't know, and he said you wouldn't. I didn't hear it from the parents. He said no, they don't know. And so it just struck me as, and then she sent me some pictures of Jeff with her and the boys. It struck me.
See, I think Rob knows a lot more, and that's exactly why stuff is sealed. Talking about the text. I don't know. I think there's a lot more there.
Is unique because she'd never shared the name or photograph of a boyfriend before.
Okay, so
Members of the jury, as to the last question and response, you are not to consider the hearsay statement for the truth of the matter asserted. You may continue.
Okay. So it was unusual for her to talk to you about boyfriends at all.
Yes.
But you also felt it was unusual that she's telling you about this boyfriend when even your parents don't know about him yet.
Right.
And she was closer to her parents at the time than you.
Correct.
Okay. What date was that text message sent?
The very end of June, like 26th or 28th of 14, but that last weekend.
Okay, so it was prior to 4th of July weekend.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Wendy won't testify in her trial, Andrew. So you're going to have people like Rob giving the first, like person report on things with Wendy, maybe Lynn and Alan, who she stayed with that night, like all these kind of people that can give information. Of course, they can set up how she drove down Trescott.
And do you remember where in those photographs Wendy is with her sons and Jeff?
Like Wakulla Springs, something like that.
Okay.
They were in front of a board that said that.
And did you let her know you wouldn't mention him to her parents or to your parents?
Yes.
Did that strike you as so unusual that after Dan Markel was murdered, you felt, I guess, compelled to tell police, like, hey, I heard she has this boyfriend she hasn't told anybody about named Jeff?
Yes, I did. The FBI came to my house and I spoke to them once, and either didn't come up or, it's a bit nerve-wracking talking to the FBI, and that they didn't ask any questions about that. And then, I guess over the ensuing week, I'd heard about like this Prius and this unsolved murder. And I remember, it struck me as odd that I was sent these photographs of a boyfriend and not to tell the parents about him. And so that's when I wanted to have a clean conscience. So I reached out to the FBI and I said, I don't know if this matters, but I figure I would, tell you about this. And they came back for a second interview and looked at the pictures.
Okay. When is your father, Harvey Adelson's birthday?
July 5.
Okay, so on July 5th of 20.
See, True Crime Wifey, he just said there was this picture of a Prius and she had sent that picture. That's what kind of made me wonder if it was him going to the FBI and if he told his mom. And that's what made Wendy vomit.
2014, how old would he have turned that year?
70.
Okay, and this is about 2 to 3 weeks before Dan Markel was killed?
Yes.
Did your family do anything to celebrate his birthday that year?
Yes, we had a party at their condo.
Okay, was there a gift from the family or from the...
Yes, there is somebody riding with Donna and it's comical. It's not me. I applied to the South Dakota prison to try to, I wasn't going to go in under some ruse and should chat with Charlie. I was just going to see if he'd be open to, talking to True Crime in a minute, but I never heard anything back from the South Dakota prison.
Any of you to him?
No, I remember an email, and my dad is not someone who wants gifts or a big deal made about him. And so, the email is like, your dad doesn't want gifts. He just wants all of his kids to be with him on his birthday.
And was that from Donna Adelson?
Yes.
So she's basically letting you know you and your kids coming is going to be his gift.
Correct.
And everybody, all the kids and grandkids being
correct.
There. Okay. Did the family ever discuss going on a cruise?
No, not with me.
When a birthday gift is given for somebody in the family, does Donna Adelson typically say, we're going to get him this, everybody owes this much, everybody's going to pay a third or whatever it is?
Yeah, if there was a big gift we're getting, or they said, we're getting this for someone, and you can be part of it, that was not uncommon.
Okay, so tell us at the party, about the party, you said it was at the Continuum?
Yes, at their apartment.
Okay, so is that like a condo building in Miami?
Yeah, on Miami Beach.
Okay, on Miami Beach, like South Beach?
Yeah.
Okay. And is it
See, Wendy acts like, oh no, my parents just got that just to stay in the weekends. And Rob's like, no, they were living there. And she was on that lease in March before the July hit. True Crime Wifey, good info, November 8th. Wendy and George were downstairs and Donna says, we have to tell her we're leaving the country. So Wendy was in on that too.
Is it a secure building?
It is very secure. It was, we were staying at a hotel down the street and there was armed guards and, apparently there's a lot of celebrities that live there.
Yeah, I'll tell you, my husband is not happy with all my YouTubing today, but what else am I supposed to do? It's whatever.
There was a very high, very secure building.
Okay. And these celebrities that live there, were they people that you knew of? You knew who they were?
Sure. Yeah, A-Rod.
Did these people have kind of guards of their own too in the building?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. So the guards that you saw were the guards in the front.
Yes.
All right. Had your parents, how recently had they moved to the Continuum?
I got the idea it was something less than a year. Like, I don't remember exactly, but seemed like they said they were going to try living down in South Beach to see if they liked it for the retirement. And so it had to be sometime, before, because they were pretty well moved in there. But I don't remember the exact time, but if I'm guessing like maybe 6 months before or something like that.
Okay, so by the weekend of the party, July 5th, are they like fully moved into their condo there?
Yes.
Okay, and are they living there full time? From what you know?
It seemed like that, but I couldn't. I know they still own the house in Coral Springs. So I don't know if they're just there on the weekends, but I couldn't say.
So on Friday, there was a hearing that Court TV was not permitted to record. And we understand.
Yeah, this was a good little segment on some Court TV. I don't love them, but I'll watch it. There's just a good little highlight on some Donna stuff. And I do wonder too, I mean, Rob, they could show a picture to Rob, like, was this person at the party? And it could be Katie. I mean, I think Rob would remember that stuff. I know I would.
That Adelson appeared remotely as her attorneys asked the judge.
Actually, I'd be like, yes, I know who my brother brought, and I can tell you what she was wearing. That's how I'd be.
Judge to grant that permission to re-depose several witnesses in the case. And this includes Donna's estranged son, Robert. That's right, there's another sibling besides Charlie and Wendy, Robert. Now, we learned that the newly discovered discovery,
you.
The new discovery that was disclosed by prosecutors involves wiretaps of conversations between a jailhouse informant and Donna's husband, Harvey. Now, we haven't heard much about Harvey since Donna's arrest last year.
Can you take it off, please, Mom? Please. Just a minute, just get it. Listen. Yeah. It's awful. Yeah, get it over. I will take.
Donna's defense team also alleges that the state of Florida made some false allegations in an affidavit that was presented to a judge, alleging that there was a plot to harm Robert Adelson, Catherine McBanawa, remember her, and the mother of a jailhouse snitch. So this is all starting to sound like a Lifetime movie, isn't it? But no, this is real life. So is the case shifting in any way to these other family members? Let's talk about it. Still with me, attorney Tommy Pope, and want to welcome in Court TV digital content producer Lauren Silver, who's been tracking this case for us from the beginning. She reads all the motions and watches all the hearings. Lauren, good morning. All right, can I start with you, please? Tell us about these new developments. What were the
Y'all
big
are funny.
takeaways, you think, with what we weren't able to film on Friday?
Oh, what tangled webs we weave.
Y'all, I don't think he just likes my attention. Like, he wants me in there watching football, I guess. I don't know, but it's fine. Thank you.
I've never seen anything quite like it. And behind the scenes, we had talked about whether or not Wendy Adelson would be dragged into this next. Now it's Harvey. We hadn't really talked about Harvey. He hadn't been forefront. And now we're hearing that there are these new wiretaps that the defense is just getting to listen to. They're talking about hundreds of calls. And more than that, the defense is alleging that the state recorded conversations between Harvey and a jailhouse informant. They're alleging that the state is making up conversations because apparently the state is alleging that Donna's new attorneys that were entered after there was a prior conflict of counsel have been helping her to communicate with Harvey using their own cell phones and watches. And it is during one of those conversations, allegedly, that there was a discussion about a potential plot to harm their eldest son, Robert, who is estranged from the family.
Oh, my.
Y'all have to know, a long time ago, 2 months ago, my intro or outro video had XOXO Leslie, and he like flipped his mind. He's like, you cannot put that. So I had to change it. I know, it's cute. Neverly and Riding Shotgun get a good laugh about it. It is funny.
You weren't kidding.
Y'all are sweet. Thank you.
Quite a web here. Tommy Pope, so let me go to you next, please. So the defense, he wants to depose 2 investigators that were involved in the wiretaps, as well as Robert Adelson. Now, specific to Robert, they want to know about how some new accusations could impact his testimony against his mom. Judge Everett agreed that if the defense has some new questions not previously asked or some new information, the witnesses can be deposed on that. Otherwise, he'll take the issue under consideration. We've heard Donna before in jailhouse calls with her son Charlie as she talks about going to Vietnam. I have a clip for you here, Tommy. Let's take a listen together.
One thing I don't understand about that we've been looking up over and over, and things change. It's not an extradition from Vietnam. Because we looked at all the places, I mean, I could go to Korea and China, but there's no extradition. But we're looking at places where there's no extradition.
Ooh, okay. So we remember that. Tommy, going back to Robert here, the testimony he could give against his mom. What legal issues do you see potentially coming up there for him, if any?
I was trying to think what incentive he would have, and that he's already convicted, and I don't know, different states, different laws, but here in South Carolina, pretty much once you're there, with few exceptions, there's not any early parole for, assistance, but in the federal system there is, and South Carolina started doing some of that, but unless he's looking out for taking care of himself and trying to figure if he,
Oh, wow. I just saw on the screen. He's the one that prosecuted Susan Smith. I knew his name from somewhere.
he can offer up something, but this thing, I never would have thought after the first trial it would have gone any further, because it just seemed too collateral. But whether you want to call it the web or the rabbit hole, the more we see, the more this crowd. I mean, Mom talks about the going non-extradition. Apparently, she's learned enough about the law to know where she wanted to end up. But again, this thing spreads broader and broader and broader over what I perceived initially to be, kind of a straightforward family murder case. I hate to make it that mundane, but in my career, I guess that's what it is.
Right. No, you're right, Tommy. I mean, it took a while for us to see it, right? We remember it was the gangbangers on trial first. We've been hearing about
The gangbangers.
Adelsons, and now, boy, the tables have turned, haven't they? Lauren, speaking of the tables turning, okay, we know that the attorneys for Mama Donna filed that motion to ask the judge to recuse himself, which was denied. Any more about that? We really didn't hear why. Anything you could glean from Friday?
So they didn't mention it in the hearing on Friday, but in the motion. So what's interesting about this motion is I'm getting this information from, it was pulled from the docket. So it's no longer public. I don't know why it was up for the 5 minutes that I grabbed it, but I did. In that document, it does reference that they had asked the judge to recuse himself because of 3 ex parte communications and or meetings with the prosecution. Doesn't say what happened in those meetings.
Oh, that's right. They wanted him recused because they met with him to get the wiretap signed off on. But I mean, obviously they're not going to be like, yeah, we're going to go get Everett to sign this. And then they're going to know.
Also reference a number of affidavits given to the judge that contained lies, arguably about the alleged plot to hurt Rob Adelson, Catherine McBanoa, and the jailhouse informant's mother. So I don't know if those affidavits were part of those meetings. It's not clear, but it is saying they are alleging that there were multiple ex parte communications and meetings between the prosecution and the judge, but the judge, again, refused to recuse himself.
Lauren, thank you for that. You're so awesome grabbing that motion before we shake down. You are the best. So let's talk a little more, Tommy, about these depositions that may be yet to come. I'm curious, if you're Harvey Adelson, how concerned should you be about saying something that could potentially be used against you and potentially lay the groundwork for charging?
That was always the trickiest part. I thought of constitutional law in the courtroom of, when someone could plead the fifth, when they could, we see it on TV all the time, and I'm just not gonna talk, but if you've got an immunity, there can be opportunities where you have to testify. And so, again, back to our tangled web, it's gonna be interesting from a legal standpoint. I was thinking about this whole pushback by the defense, and I don't know these attorneys as far as their strategies or the way they approach cases, but it was a little concerning what I heard you say on the lead-in too. If they're allowing access that maybe is supposed to be limited through their phones or their smartwatches or whatever the case may be, they may be protesting even more on those issues to try to cover the fact that they probably shouldn't have been doing what they were doing. Again, in that state, it may be perfectly fine, but if there's some restrictions there and they're trying to circumvent them, then they can have their own problems. And I never wanted to ask the judge to recuse himself unless I was pretty sure he was going to be gone, because he's going to remember that. So I think they turned up the heat for themselves, and so they probably have no choice but to keep on punching.
That's a really great point, Tommy. That's a sticky situation to be in if you've made that motion to ask his or her honor to recuse themselves and they don't do it. It's like you gotta know that you're right before you take on that legal battle, right? So Judge Everett, he is staying on this case, and what a trial it's gonna be when it happens. Lauren Silver, do we have a set trial date? We know it was supposed to go in a couple weeks from now, it's postponed. How about that, please?
We do. The next time they're in court is June 11th for a case management hearing, barring more motions ahead of then. But the trial itself is scheduled to start August 19th, and the judge said it will not be postponed again except for good cause.
Oh, wow. He means business. He wants to keep this trial moving. Lauren Silver, I know we're going to be talking a lot more between now and then. Everybody check out Lauren's great writing on courttv.com. Now, what's tipping the scales of justice, Mama Donna Adelson and her lawyers are asking for a change of venue because of her oldest son's deposition and statements he made. And we talked Tuesday about.
God, Donna looks so rough. Francis says, I had a thought. What if feds are looking at little Miss White Savior with her involvement with all the charities? They're probably looking at Harvey. I definitely agree. That would not surprise me.
That double here on opening statements. Rob Adelson is actually a doctor. Dr. Rob Adelson, I should say, made comments that could be considered damaging, very damaging to his mother's case. And now his mom's attorneys say they have no ability to unring the bell. When asked if his mother was sharp or gullible, Rob.
Is this for real? Surviving the Survivor just gave 10 memberships? That's incredibly nice. Thank you.
Answered that Donna is not someone who's gullible or who could pull the wool over their eyes very easily. Rob's been estranged from the rest of the family since the murder of Dan Markel. We don't even have a photo of him, you guys, because he's not been talked about. Many people didn't even know there was another sibling. Well, Donna's trial is set to begin in June. And so we're wondering, will the information from Rob's deposition about his opinion of his mother not being gullible be enough to get a change of venue? Or is the defense reaching here? Well, let's bring in two great criminal defense attorneys, Noah Pines and Casey Early. All right, Noah, what do you think? Is this a reach or is this legit?
Well, I read the motion, and it sounds like the clerk didn't do their job.
Right.
Thank you, COE. I'm having to think it's COE, but Joel too. Appreciate it. It's very, very kind. And we'll say in memory of Julie Frew.
Seal what was supposed to be.
So sorry for your loss.
Sealed. This case already does have a lot of media attention. It's not the first trial or the second trial, right? Or even the third trial. I think it's at least the fourth trial.
We lost count, yeah.
Right. You had a trial, a mistrial, another trial.
Right.
And so I get it. And the defense attorney is being transparent. He's like, look, I was going to see how jury selection goes, but bring this up, and I need to bring it up now. So I think it's a valid motion based on what I read.
Appreciate it, Noah. I have something I want to show on the screen. This is from the hearing where Rob Adelson was deposed. And something said here that there's no person who places their own interests first or something like that, more so than Mama Donna Adelson. So this is another one of those pieces of the depot that the defense team is citing here. Casey, tell me, do you think that the whole jury pool is potentially tainted here in the Tallahassee area, and that this needs to be moved to get her a fair trial?
I don't think so. And here's why, because I always think about the change of venue.
Thank you so much. So kind. I am, very, very sorry. It's very sad.
Clearly, if it's not the proper jurisdiction, you file a proper motion. But in this case, a change of venue, in other words, it's getting somewhat outdated. Because before, when the Supreme Court entered their opinion, the concern was that the community would be so hostile that there would not be a fair and impartial jury. But now with internet, social media, it's all over. And sometimes you may be in a different county, but you may still be a part or feel like you're a part of that community. I do not believe that, although the motion is valid, I don't think it's strong enough to change that venue, because the judge has to consider various factors, the cost, the inconvenience.
And we've just got like 9 minutes left, but I put this in here because this is what Donna is saying for her appeal. I think the change in venue.
And whether or not, even if you change that venue, will the defendant have a fair and impartial jury? So I do not believe that a change of venue would be appropriate in this instance, simply because it's not strong enough to bypass.
Great points from you both, Casey and Noah. Thank you. I want to play a clip for you too. This is one of Mama Donna's jail calls, and she references all three of her kids. So you hear her talk about Rob. Listen to this call, and then I want to get both of your reactions on the other side.
I have one son that I don't speak with. I have one son that's on the same day. My daughter, whom I love, is doing this. I don't get it. I don't get it. I just want to win the family curse. And I don't know how to take care of it anymore. So.
All right, is the Adelson family cursed, or as my brother likes to say, does this family's problems bear their own fingerprints? You always say a lot of people's problems bear their own fingerprints. Noah, what'd you think listening to that?
Where's Dr. Sue? Bring her.
Yeah, Dr. Sue Kornblum.
Yeah,
I know, she's seeing a client right now. We got to call her.
I'm no professional, but you could see that Donna, is that typical mom who probably creates every single problem and then says, why does this happen to me? And I think that's been pretty evident through everything I've watched on this case.
Right. Casey, what did you think listening to Mama Donna?
I don't think she's cursed. I think she's reaping a harvest from the seeds that she's sown, being in control.
In the words of Ruth Markel, Donna, you are the curse.
Having that dominant position, and now she's playing victim. This is definitely not a curse, because your hands are not clean. And I can't feel sorry, even based on trial number 1, 2, and 3. I just don't have sympathy, because it's obvious that she had involvement.
Casey, thank you. I think so many courties share those sentiments. Thank you for saying that. I know many people are feeling it. It's really hard to feel sorry for Donna Adelson. I mean, especially because throughout all these trials, as you noted, I'd have to really go back and think how many we've seen. Her name always was coming up. And so now it's like, we've arrived. We're finally at the trial. Okay, so quick predictions. We have just about 30 seconds left. Do you think the judge will grant the motion, Noah?
Not immediately. I think that they'll go through jury selection and then reconsider during.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. All right. Casey, I think I know where you're going to go, but official prediction on our opening statements record here.
Motion denied and not sufficient.
I don't know which one, but my gut is telling me that it's Lewis. Because
But the important thing to note there is that we're not getting the full story.
Yeah.
Louis Rivera is not giving the full story. Louis Rivera has testified and messed up and given the truth and said, well, the third trip, that was with King Anthony. So he's giving the story that the government wants from him, not the full truth. We don't have the full story, but in my opinion, do I trust that Louis Rivera and Fredo Garcia were some of the members involved? Yes. What we know beyond a shadow of a doubt is that Catherine McDaniel was not involved in it. That evidence is there. The government wants the jury to not look at
Yeah.
it, wants the media
I disagree with them here. I mean, I thought the evidence was pretty clear on Katie.
to not look at it. They don't even want to look at it themselves because it goes against their theory.
They said relocation had no impact on Charlie Adelson, and that they proved Wendy's innocence in their questioning of her. Why are they working so hard to convince you Wendy is innocent?
Great question. This is closing in Charlie's trial. Why are they working so hard to prove Wendy is innocent?
Does it matter? Y'all aren't being asked to decide anything about Wendy Adelson. There's nothing on that verdict form about Wendy Adelson. Did she corroborate the defense theory in this case? Wendy Adelson testified she didn't know anything about this supposed extortion of her brother, even though she moved there the day this happened. She didn't know in 14, she didn't know in 15, and she didn't know until it was announced in opening statements in this courtroom. I asked her about it, and she said, quote, "Well, I learned that someone made that argument. I don't know whether it's true or not. I don't know whether it's true or not. Even his own sister doesn't believe this load he's trying to send out."
So you're gonna Sergeant Corbett do any calculation or in some other way develop this information that can be demonstrated as reliable?
Yes, sir. So on this slide, we have actual versus optimal travel of Wendy Adelson on the day of the crime. The actual travel is based on the events in her call detail records, where it shows the cell towers that her phone's communicating with as she leaves her house and goes on her way that day from by the crime scene to ABC, liquor store, and up to lunch. That's based on call detail records. And also other evidence like an ABC receipt that she had that day.
See, they're bringing up again in pretrial stuff that Trescott Drive. That is like big. Beach Bum asked, when the jury writes a question, can Wendy be indicted? And it's not allowed to be asked, and then no questions were asked in the future trials. I'm not sure I totally understand that, but the jury asking questions, that's up to the judge. So Everett hasn't done that, but I think Hankinson and Wheeler did, is my recollection.
For the red dotted line, that's the summary of the shortest route. So we're saying this is the actual route versus the shortest route she could have taken from point A to point B, her home to where another liquor store is and the restaurant. What he uses to show travel time or miles is a company called, or a mapping company called Esri, which is, and if you need to hear more about it from Sergeant Corbett, he'll be here in just a second. But basically that is a software that Florida Department of Transportation uses for their mapping and mileage calculations. He uses this very regularly in all of his mapping and travel calculations and all of his presentations. And he knows it's reliable because several times he's tested it himself. He looks at where the map says the travel time should be in miles, and he does the drive himself. So he's been able to personally test this several times, and it's been accurate. And what we have in this slide is, one is call records, the other is the summary of the shortest route, and it's literally just saying, hey, this is point A, this is point B, and this is the mileage according to Esri, and this is the minutes it should take. And it's twice as long as the actual, or twice as short as the actual route.
All right. The sergeant also be able to testify as to his knowledge of this program, its use, and the fact that he is qualified
Rashbaum was trying to get this thrown out, which is just funny.
to use this program.
Yes, sir, and I can ask him those questions today if you'd like me to, that he regularly uses this program and has knowledge of it, is qualified to talk about it, and has had personal knowledge of testing its accuracy before.
All right. Well,
12:30. The hitmen now headed back south, turned their phones on. They had turned them off for the homicide. They turn it back on. The first phone call that either one of them makes is Fredo Garcia to Catherine McDaniel. They want their money. Where's McDaniel getting money? From Charlie. 12:45. So while the killers are calling McDaniel and heading south, Wendy goes out of her way to visit the crime scene, encounters a roadblock and crime scene tape. Per the officer at the roadblock, she would have been able to clearly see the police activity at her former residence. The residence where her children currently lived half the time and where they woke up that morning.
This is closing, and Georgia is spending all this time on Wendy. Y'all, she's going to be arrested.
Yet she abruptly turns around and leaves. She does not make contact with the officer to ask what's going on. She does not call the police to inquire. She does not call Dan Markel to say, "Are you okay? There's a bunch of cops at the house." She does not call the daycare to make sure her children arrive that morning and are okay. Instead, she proceeds to the ABC Liquors, purchases her bullet bourbon at 12:49. She's later approached by law enforcement at lunch and gives a law enforcement interview in which she says, "My parents have more reason to dislike Danny than almost anyone else." This echoes Rob Adelson's testimony that his mother hated Dan Markel at the time of his murder. But don't let the way that they thought they would get away with this case be the way they get away with this case. But don't let the way the defendant thought he would get away with this be the reason he gets away with it. Don't let the way she thought she was going to get away with this be the way she gets away with it.
Boom. Did y'all like that? That's it. I know I didn't have a big finale because I didn't get to wrap up my whole production. It was a little longer than it really should have been. But I love seeing that all the way she said that in every closing. So I'm glad